Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to round 5 of the GPVWC Super League here in 2017 from the Red Bull Ring in Austria. Looking to be a great race today, as ever, and of course, a brand new challenge in the Red Bull Ring. Not to the calendar, of course, but for the drivers in these 2017 cars. It's a short circuit. Overtaking opportunities, they exist, but the shortness of the circuit always going to prove a challenge. And with many interesting developments possibly about to arise, we could be on for a great race. I'm Josh Randerson. We will be expecting a Jake Sanson at some point in this broadcast, but I'll take you through the remainder of qualifying until we get to the end of it, and of course, till the start of the race, etc. But for now, we have qualifying here at the Red Bull Ring, and it's none other than Gergo Baldi, who is currently on pole position for Wouters Automotive, but there is not much in it at all between him and championship leader Rudy Van Buren. And Van Buren himself has just been eclipsed by his own teammate by 100th of a second. That shows you just how close this is. This is a seriously close qualifying, and of course, for the first time ever, Super League is now in DirectX 11 because we're using the brand new update. We are in the open beta of DirectX 11, and you can see just how brilliant these Super League cars look in it. And, well, it really is the cutting edge of simulators, this new technology. The graphics just, now we can have a look at Super League in even better quality than you could before. But yeah, Baldi on pole position at the moment from Capet, from Van Buren, from Gaia. But it's so close. The top 13 separated by just over 1 second. And that 13th place driver is the Super Cup feature race winner from last time out yesterday, Jeffrey Fournier. So he's just come off the hot of his heels off a great win and then a fantastic second race as well. So he is going to be really motivated in that Red Archer car. Definitely want to watch. This could be interesting to see how it's going to go, of course. But, you know, at the moment, Fournier really could be one to watch, as we say. But time is elapsing, of course, in this qualifying session. 1 minute 30 to go now. David Feidig just set a purple first sector, but his second didn't really live up to it. Lee Morris, though, sets a personal best first sector. So Morris potentially, again, he's always seeming to be up there in that Mad Cape car, despite the fact that it has got not nearly as much development as any other car on the grid. Which goes to show just how talented Morris is, but ultimately, if Mad Cape don't keep development of that car up, it is going to come back to haunt him and the team. So really, it's just, they need to build the car, really, so that Morris and his teammate can get the most out of it. Speaking of a teammate, Ryan Walker, as he's down in 15th place, a whole second behind Baldi. Again, it shows really that, you know, you need a good car behind you as well. Walker's a talented driver, but he can only do so much. Every single driver on the grid, with the exception of Jeffrey Fournier, is qualifying on the Ultra Soft tyre. Of course, Fournier opting to start on the Super Softs. And again, it's another case of every team, but in the actual tyre choices. Every team, with the exception of one, has gone for the 3 softest compounds on this Red Bull Ring. And that one team who hasn't is Street Fighter Racing Systems. They've gone for the Ultra Softs, but they've elected to take the softs and mediums. Probably going to see less stops from them then, but it's going to be interesting to see how the strategy pans out for them as time is now elapsing. Of course, we have 7 seconds to go, so drivers will be starting the final laps or finishing the final laps. Van Buren has just taken pole, and I don't think he's going to go for another lap, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I don't think he is. He's slowed down, but he has just taken pole from Baldi, so the pressure on the Hungarian to get it back now. Of course, hello to you, all you viewers as well. Who do you think is going to be pole position and potential race winner? Let us know in the comments, of course, and we'll come to some of you in the broadcast and see what the people think is going to go down now that Super League has met Austria. Gergo Baldi is not looking to be on a hot lap here. He's on a 29.5 in his first sector, 2/10 down on what Van Buren did. And I'm not sure his seconds are going to be much better. Unless he goes purple here, I don't think he's really going to be contention for pole here. Probably looking to go to the Dutchman. Yeah, he's going to need a fantastic 3rd sector. And with so short it being, I don't think he's going to do it. But let's see where Gergo Baldi, he could improve. But he comes across the start-finish line. He's not even going to improve his time. He stays 2nd. Bristol Cabot up to 3rd. Florian Gaia, the next person who could potentially improve, but he's 2 seconds down on Van Buren. I don't even think he's on a lap here. David Francic, again, has just finished his lap. He is in 12th place, but it is Rudy Van In a result that you could argue was completely expected, but he is just looking so solid in this car at the moment, in that Vodbull, and clearly one of the championship favourites, if not the championship favourite. He's leading the championship at the moment, of course, on 70 points. But it's been a very close start to the season, but now he just seems to be finding his form again. 2 wins in a second so far, and his one did not finish at Sochi after that graphics for you. So really, you should argue he should be really out in front. Perhaps even 3 wins in a second. Nonetheless, of course, we have that pole position sorted. Now we have the warm-up session coming up. And, oh, Fran Lopez, interestingly, he's just been asked to be put to the back of the grid. Now, Fran Lopez has qualified 16th, but he's asking to be put to the back of the grid. Maybe it's because he cut on his qualifying lap. That's very responsible of Fran if he has done. Fair play to him, but it's not often you see that drivers asking to go to the back of the grid. Well, that is an interesting one, but either way, we'll see if Lopez gets his wish. And there's not actually that many penalties to be served this race. Only Ben Wellis and Ben Sapanik have penalties to be, sorry, not Ben Sapanik, Daniel Sharanku have penalties to be served. With Ben Wells getting back of the grid, but he's not here. And Daniel Sharanku for Waters Automotive qualifying 18th, so he will start presumably 20th behind Lopez, or ahead of Lopez rather, because he's been asked to put to the back. And by the back, I mean the very back. He means last place. So Sharanku will either be 21st or 20th, depending on whether Lopez gets himself where he wants. And, oh, I've just been told my voice is quite down-pitched. Well, that is a strange thing to happen. I think I know why that is, though. Well, this is an odd one. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't usual. I'm just trying to sort this out with the cameraman and see if we can get this sorted for you. Right, well, hopefully that's been fixed, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, do let me know if it hasn't, because obviously, if it hasn't been fixed, it's a bit of a disaster. No, I can hear it. It hasn't. I can hear it. That is not better. Well, I'm hoping that's fixed things, ladies and gentlemen. I don't like having a heavy metal voice. That is for certain. Really don't like, sounding like someone out of a thrash metal band. So hopefully that has fixed things for you, and you can hear my normal Geordie baritones now. Oh, apparently it has, but I'm just looking at the broadcast. I'm just listening to it, and it's all good. Yay, it's a thing. It's worked. I don't sound like that man out of literally Megadeth. That's great. I like having me high-pitched voice back. I feel more comfortable like this. Anyway, so, yes, warm up for Super League. We've only got 5 minutes. I've spent so long being a heavy metal singer. I've drifted away and spent half of the broadcast for you. So, yeah. Predictions for the race win. Who do you think it's going to be? Let me know in the comments. And I'll read some of them out if they are predictions. Either way, we've obtained a Matt Varley, and that is good news for Green Stripes Racing. We have a Matt Varley, one of the Green Stripes car is here. Menoclone, of course, here as well on the Storm Racing car. Good to see people present and correct, of course. Right, well, obviously warm up then, just time for drivers to reacquaint themselves with their surroundings. But, of course, going to be interesting to see how it pans out all in all. And, of course, how is Rudy Van Buren going to take from the lead to the race? Matthew Elton says he's going to win it. Well, I would not put that past him at all, Matt. He's had 2 race wins this season. Can he make it a 3rd? Highly likely. But then again, we've seen problems of falling before, so nothing's certain, but he has to be one of the heavy favourites. Either way, this is going to be interesting to see again how it goes, but drivers are all going to be starting on different compounds, I do believe. I do think you have to use a qualifying tyre in the race, so they'll all be starting on the ultra softs in that sense, with the exception of Jeffrey Fournier, who's going to be on the supers. He should be able to go longer. And apparently we're going to restart the stream, ladies and gentlemen, just for some settings to be changed for your continued better viewership. So do sit tight, and we'll be back in just a couple of moments. I do believe we are back. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Great to be back on the stream. And of course, and well, I do believe right now, conveniently timed as we come back from the settings changes, we've been joined by Jake Sanson.
You know me, timing is everything in this motor racing world. And yeah, I tried to time it to the 10th of a second. And that was pretty much spot on, really, wasn't it, Josh? It couldn't really have been better timed.
You couldn't have timed it better if you tried, man.
Well, I have to say, after last night's encounter in the Super Cup, we should be in for a really interesting one here at Spielberg. I have a feeling that the Red Bull Ring is going to offer up some pretty exciting battles. Yesterday, we had some very interesting squabbles, certainly in the early stages. But it was actually, in terms of on-track freneticism, it was clean as a whistle last night. We didn't really have any major foul-ups from anybody. There were a couple of incidents, but nothing major. And we had a lot of people debating yesterday, would there be any incidents heading to the first corner, heading to the second corner, up at the top of the hairpin Remus. So I wonder if that's going to be the state of play here today, especially with so many people in competition for this one.
Yeah, it could happen. I mean, it's a difficult circuit in places, as I mentioned in the warm-up session. Some difficult corners here. Schlossgold, I was commentating on endurance race the other day in the wet. That caught so many drivers out. And in the dry, it might catch some drivers out too. It's a very difficult corner. And you've got also, obviously, it's a short track, Red Bull Ring. 1 minute 7 for pole is not much at all. We got 71 laps as well. So these drivers are going to be tackling these corners a lot. And while they can argue that's going to give them a lot of time to get used to, you could similarly argue more chance to trip up.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I mean, yesterday we had several drivers in competition for the victory, and I actually think, even though we've seen what we've seen from qualifying, I think we could see several drivers in the mix for this one again. Don't forget, it's a short track. There are plenty of opportunities for overtaking here, lots of slipstreaming opportunities as well. What's going to be critical is the first lap, if they can run at the front from the outset, because if there's going to be a bit of a break in the early stages, then that is really going to kill the spirit of competition stone dead, especially when what we've seen so far this year.
Yeah, hopefully we can get some good battles throughout the race as we're just going to said race now. Obviously, we'll have a minute of all the formation lap, but yeah, these drivers really at the moment going to be focusing on just to start really getting the start right, because it's such a tight circuit, and it's going to be key that they're getting this right. Of course, every one of them is going to be going for the win, but there can only be one winner.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to see the Nordian cars right up towards the front end, though, this time. Florian Geyer and David Feider back in the top 6 where they belong. So that'll be interesting to see if they can make good use of that in the early stages. Fran Lopez down the back. He is sure to get off to a strong start. So it's definitely worth keeping an eye on him as the getaway. Interesting as well, keep an eye on Wopke Hoekstra. Now, the reason I say that is because last night in the Super Cup, he was pretty strong and he was in the top 6 in both races. So Wopke Hoekstra has already had a little bit of practice, as it were, almost illegal, not quite, illegal practice coming into the race today. So it'll be interesting to see if he can make advantage of that, because he knows what the track conditions are like. He knows how the tyres are going to work to a certain degree over the course. Obviously, they're 2 different compounds, but that will be an interesting challenge on its own as they go into their rolling lap. Let's talk you through the grid. Rudy Van Buren on pole position, Gergo Baldi in second place, Risto Capit and Florian Geyer together on the second row, Lee Morris and David Feider, an all-British
touch, just hit the curb. Actually, wait. I should just wait. Wait. Right, well, this should be it now, ladies and gentlemen. We should be back live once more. Massive apologies, of course, for the technical problems we have been facing this stream. Don't know why it's happened. Unfortunately, we can't offer an explanation. But either way, we should now be live. We should stay live with some luck. But yes, while we've been gone, we've had a problem with Risto Capit. He's gone down to 21st, Jake.
Yes, Capit had a bit of a battle with David Feider, and as a result of that, there was a slightest tap from Feider on the back of Risto Capit. Not intentional at all, just the slightest little nerve on the back end, and that's all it took for Capit to spin around. So he's taken that opportunity to make a pit stop. Now, I don't know whether that was scheduled or whether he's just decided to go early. Well, Gergo Baldi is in the pit, so I'm guessing it was probably around the pit stop window anyway, as Jeff Fournier comes into the pits as well. So already we're in the first pit stop rotation, and this is at the end of lap 9. So already we have got to the point where the...
Right, well, we should be back once again, ladies and gentlemen, with the GPVWC Super League. Again, Avalanche, again, apologies for the issues we've been facing. And, well, we're on a new OBS version now for our cameraman and race director, Argo Teder. So you'll notice the overlays are no longer visible, but we will hopefully have a stable broadcast coming at you. Obviously, new OBS version. This, of course, problems for Argo, but we do have a live feedback. Hopefully, it'll stay up. Bartos, our race leader, was just pitted, so Rudy Van Buren will retake the race lead. I've just noticed Van Buren has changed tyres because he's on the super soft compound rather than the ultras now, Jay.
Yes, he has, and I think this is obviously going to be the next phase of his race. He got himself a good lead before the first rotation of pit stops, so from his point of view, it's now just settling into a rhythm. What we need to be focusing on here, ultimately, is the Baldi Feider battle. They are now back to second and third position. The first round of pit stops is done, And as a result of this, Fidek's got a great run out of the first corner, by the way. He's going to get a good run on Baldi. And surely he's going to beat into the braking zone on the inside line. Baldi overshoots, trying to beat Fidek around the outside. Morris has made a mistake, trying to get past Fran Lopez. Lopez has not pitted yet, which is why he's up to 4th position from dead last. But now he is there fighting away with Morris. Morris gets through. That's not really a surprise. Morris is on better tyres than Fran Lopez at the moment, so he's there in 4th position. But David Fidek has moved into 2nd position. This is the strongest he has been this season. Menno Klont and Vodka Hoekstra asked Cenobite, where are they at the moment? Well, Menno Klont is battling away with Ben Horrell in the fight for 14th position. Vodka Hoekstra is down at the back of the field behind Adrian McNaughton at the moment. Just trying to see who else is moving forward. Risto Capit had issues just before the pit stop rotation. He was battling with David Fidek and got the slightest little nudge from Fidek on the exit of turn 1. Nothing malicious. It was just a couple of millimeters too close. And that sent Capit into a spin. Now, when he watches the replay back, he's probably going to see, okay, there wasn't really much you could do about it. But for the time being, he's going to be hopping mad. Florian Gaia is into the pits again. Now, Lopez is in for the first time. That's the 2nd visit to the pits for Florian Gaia. What's wrong with him?
Yeah, he's just, I don't know what's happened there. I mean, I don't know whether anything happened there. I mean, he just comes into the pits, Gaia, and I'm checking to see if there's any tyres or anything. He's changed tyres again. So, don't know why he's done that, but maybe there was a flat spot on one tyre. I don't know. He could have had an accident and he just decided he doesn't want a flat spotted tyre. I don't know. But it's put him into 23rd and last. So it's ruined whatever strategy was going to happen. Really, the only knowledge in points contention, well, not points contention, but higher position contention now is David Fidek in 2nd place. But Gergo Baldi himself is chasing down. But I'm as confused as you, Jake. What happened with Gaia there?
Yeah, I have no idea why Florian Gaia has pulled into the pits for the 2nd time in a row. I'm just watching Risto Capit as he starts to get close to the back of Lewis Redshaw, trying to make the move there to move up into 9th position on his comeback. Difficult to know, really, how Risto's going to deal with this because, of course, as we were saying before we lost the feed earlier, Risto is obviously going to have a little bit of frustration bubbling up because it's his teammate who's getting all the chances for race victories. Risto, he hinted it was joking, it was banterish at the end of the 4th race at Valencia, but I'm not so sure he's not going to feel frustrated about the fact that he's not in contention for a victory again here, because now he's down in 9th position, having got past Redshaw. Redshaw gets back through, Capit makes the mistake at Remus there, and back down to 10th position. This is going to be a long race for Risto Capit. The Estonian seems very frustrated here.
Yeah, he seems a bit frustrated here, Capit. He's just not really having his way. Olsen out of the race, by the way. I've just noticed, and I don't know why that is, that Olsen. I know he's just come into the pits and called it a day. He's just stopped, but yeah, he's out. But yeah, Capit won't be happy with this 10th place. Not really going his way at all. And while the same can't be said for his teammate Rudy Van Buren, which is all going his way, you know, he's doing a fantastic job. Capit is still struggling in 10th, although Lewis Redshaw ahead, he seems to be catching, so it might be 9th.
Just watching Fran Lopez on the back of Tom Jacobs. He's recovered from his pit stop in 15th position. He's going for a wild move into the penultimate turn there on Tom Jacobs. That's never going to work, and Alex Cooper's got an opportunity to get him back, but he runs very wide in the attempt to try and move forward. Great battles all the way through the field. We said this was going to be a slipstream fest, and now Lopez is going to try and go the long way round Jacobs. Jacobs is going to try and outsqueeze him. Lopez to get back to the inside. A very poor line off the turn from Jacobs, but Lopez has been balked and held up. Now Cooper's got a chance to go for Lopez. Lopez is still in the drive for Jacobs. They're going to be 3 wide by the time they get to the hairpin. This is going to be close. Jacobs is going to hold the inside line. He's going to get too much of a tight turn. Cooper's going to get them both. Cooper mugs them both. Brilliant driving from Alex Cooper. You guys just keep on scrapping. I'll take the place. Great move.
If that's not going to go into the book titled Overtaking 101, I don't know what is. Those two, I mean, you've got Lopez and Jacobs busy taking it down. Cooper says, thank you very much, chucks it down the inside of Remus, and gets 2 in 1. He gets 2 for the price of 1, and it's cash back for Cooper.
And Lopez gets through Jacobs in the same moment there. Well, pretty much an afterthought in the following straight. But Cooper now has a chance to go after Ben Horrell, as he is the next one on the road. Risto Capit, by the way, has finally got past Lewis Redshaw, who is now in front of David Francic in 11th position. So Rudy Van Buren is, well, to be honest, in the last rotation, everybody has gone from the Ultras onto well, I think, is that mediums the leaders are on now, Josh? I think it might.
You're probably looking at it, Jay. It doesn't quite reflect what the leaders are on. These drivers are going to be looking at 6 or 5 or 6 or 7 stops in this race if these are the softest compounds. But again, you've got the likes of Street Fighter who have actually brought the medium tyres to this race, looking for less stops.
Matthew Allington writes on the YouTube feed, Cooper done good. You have absolutely no idea how well he'll be feeling about that one. A really good run there from Alex Cooper, and that will just give him a little bit of a motivational kick, although now Lopez is back in front of Cooper, so I'm not sure what happened there, as Ben Schupanek has gone into the pits. So Schupanek makes his second pit stop. So surely it's not going to be too long now before the others on the same compound, so I'm looking towards the likes of Thomas Hinz and Jeffrey Fournier. Those two teammates, of course, in the same squad. Look how good they're doing in the pit stop rotation this time, though, Josh. 5th and 6th for Hinz and Fournier. They are having an absolutely cracking race, these two, and what a fillet this is for the Red Archer team. They're right back where they deserve to be.
Yep, I said at the start of this broadcast, watch out for Jeffrey Fournier, just coming off the hot of the heels of that brilliant Super Cup win. He's going to be hungry for more, and he's definitely in very happy chappy in 6th place. I did say watch out when he's there, and Hinz as well, extremely talented when things go his way in that number 6 Red Archer in P5. He's showing just why he is in that seat.
So Rudy Van Buren leading the way from Feidek in 2nd position. Highest he's been all year, by the way. The reigning champion in 2nd position. Diego Baldi in 3rd. Morris is 4th. From Tom Hinz and Jeff Fournier. Fournier pits, by the way, so Fournier into the pits. Bart de Vos, Risto Capit now 8th, thanks to the pit stop from Ben Schupanek. Redshaw and Francic round out the top 10, although now, of course, Fournier into the pits means that he's going to drop out of the top 10 for the time being. Now, Lopez is in front of Cooper, who pits. So Alex Cooper pits in. I'm keeping an eye on Alex Cooper, actually, because he's out of position, don't forget, after that spin of the first lap. And he's come from the back of the grid. So Cooper was effectively last at the end of the first lap. And Sharanku comes into the pits as well. But Cooper's going to be an interesting one to fly through the field. Now, Ben Schupanek was in about 9th position when he pitted. He's rejoined behind Florian Gaia. Well, interesting to note that Florian Gaia is going to have a difficult job of it. Cooper now gets out of the pits in 21st. Sharanku will get out in 22nd and last. So Rudy Van Buren
just dropped out of the race. He seemed to spin and then spin again and then drop out. So I don't know why that's happened. He's stopped and he's not going to finish this race, I don't think. But yeah, Gaia now in 16 chasing down Walker for the points. And well, we've got a little interesting train actually behind Gaia starting to form. We have Sapanik, we have Hoekstra, we have McNaughton, we have Cooper, all within reasonable contention. Of course, Walker really leading this gravy train, so to speak, for the points. And well, it is for the final point position, but this could still be a good battle.
Certainly could. Diego Baldi makes a scheduled pit stop. So he's into the pits now. That's interesting because he was on the Super Softs, wasn't he, Diego Baldi, one of the leaders, and he only lasted, what is that, 11 laps? So actually, if that's correct in the rotation, the Super Softs are only lasting about 3 or 4 laps longer than the Ultra Softs. That is interesting, Josh.
That is interesting. Maybe then it's not so much worth it if it's only lasting a little bit longer. Gaia going for Walker here, and the Mad Cape driver on the outside. Well, Walker's defending as hard as he can defend, but Gaia straight through. And, well, for a car that's not been developed much, I guess you can say that's kind of expected. In fact, Sapanik's going to get a better drive, what he almost did, but Walker was there. But he should get a better drive with the DRS down into Schlossgold now. This should be game, set, and match for Sapanik.
Sorry, Morris left it to the last possible minute to bow into the pits. So he comes in now, and again, he only pits on lap 20, so the Super Softs not working well for Morris or Baldi. Van Buren and Feidek are able to continue on. Now, that is significant because Baldi's tyres not working so well. Morris's can last at least 1 lap longer on the Super Softs, this is. Feidek and Van Buren, they seem to be able to keep going a bit longer. So interesting how some teams, well, everybody seems to be pretty much in agreement that the Ultra Softs are only lasting about 8 laps, 9 if at a push. But the Super Softs, some teams are getting the benefit from it. Others are really struggling.
One team that's really benefiting is Red Archer. Thomas Hinz is in 3rd place. This is sensational stuff from the Australian. And he last pitted on lap 12. I think he pitted, after 12 laps he pitted. So really, he should still have 3 or 4 more laps on these tyres.
Yeah, Fournier has only just made a pit stop and rejoined in 12th position. He's now trying to make a move on Ben Horrell, and he dives on the inside of turn 3. Absolutely textbook. Last night was such a confidence booster for Fournier. But yes, both the Red Archer cars in very good condition here. Tom Hinz coming into the pits now, is he? No, he's not, but David Feidek does. So Feidek pits in. Hinz is going to keep going and run in second position, the highest he has run all season. What a race this is turning into for Red Archer.
Never mind all season. This is the highest he's ever run in his Super League career.
Don't wobble. He just got on the exit.
No, this is the best he's run ever in a Super League race, and really showing his class here. And Van Buren may be miles ahead of him, 21 seconds that is. But do not let that distract you from the fact that he's having the race of his life here. That much is absolutely certain. As I've just seen, Ben Stefanik's actually had a drive-through penalty removed from him, so that'll be reviewed after the race, and it obviously will be reaffirmed as a time penalty if it wasn't supposed to be removed. Drivers can, of course, ask for drive-throughs to be removed, but then they're always reviewed after the race, so you've got a bit of a dilemma there.
Right, Feidek makes the move on the inside of Risto Capit into turn 3, and I thought for a minute that was going to be a bit closer than it was, but of course Risto Capit can't afford to get into the battle with Feidek and Baldi. He's got his own race to worry about here, and he's obviously going to be thinking about making his own pit stop now. He's in 5th position, but that's because he hasn't pitted. Here comes Baldi. Baldi goes through. Look, he's just got to let him go. Capit has to let Baldi go. He can't afford to waste time. He's going to pit in, is he? No, not this time.
Thomas Hinz is, though. He's dived into the pits there. He's now going to drop down the order slightly, but from that run, he should come out in a decent position. He's going to come into the pits. He's going to stay on the auto softs. I'm not surprised in the slightest. Don't fix it if it ain't broke, must be his mentality. But he's going to come out further down the order, and, well, Feidek, Baldi, Capit, Risto Capit really just can't afford, as he's here to battle these two. Got his own race to run, and Lee Morris bearing down on him to worry about.
Well, Rudy Van Buren and Bart de Vos are the only two men up front, other than Capit, that have not made their second pit stop. Rudy Van Buren is making these tyres last forever on this particular set. And, of course, those are the super softs. So he's been able to make them last 2 to 3, well, make that 4 laps now longer than anybody else has done, because he's about to go on to lap 24, and he's still leading. So Rudy Van Buren's tyre life is absolutely astonishing. Bart de Vos is one of the later pit stoppers last time around. That's why he's there in second position. Chris Shepard asking what happened to Risto. Well, we'll remind you again, because it did kind of happen when the stream was down, unfortunately. Capit was in the battle with David Feidek for second position. They came off turn 1, and Feidek just got a better run off the turn than Risto Capit, and just got a couple of millimeters too close. Nudged him a little bit there, and it just cost him a spin. He lost it on the exit of turn 1 in a straight line, it has to be said. And David will be feeling very apologetic towards Risto Capit for that. He is not a dirty driver. He will be very guilty about the fact that that's happened. So Risto Capit had to drop all the way down to, I think it was 17th he dropped to initially, but he's been fighting his way forward. And as a result of that, Capit went straight for the pits from 17th position. He's out of the rotation, but the advantage he's got is that these tyres, as we know from Rudy Van Buren up front, can last longer in the Vodbull than they can with anybody else. So the hard work they've done with tyre life is actually saving Risto Capit's race a little bit here. He might be able to save himself a pit stop and get right back into the top 6 by the checkered flag.
If David Feidek's feeling guilty about that whole Capit incident, he's not showing it. He's just at the purple sector 1. He is determined to get this fastest lap and start to rein in Bart de Vos and go for second place. After that first DNF at Valencia, you know, he wants this race. He wants this race to go well. He almost needs a personal best sector 2. This might be a fastest lap that Feidek's about to set if he gets to the end of sector 3 as he comes out of the final corner. Will this be fastest lap for David Feidek? He's not going to have the DRS, but he's going to cross the line, and it is going to be a 110.487, which I think is a personal best, but I'm not sure whether it's the fastest lap. Right,
Capit's in the pits. We're just being told by Matthew Allington on the YouTube feed that apparently Tom Hinz got rammed by, well, it can't be Gasgella, so I'm guessing Menno Clont, who's standing in for him at Storm. I didn't see that, so I'm not entirely sure what's happened there. But Thomas Hinz has rejoined from his pit stop in 7th position behind Jeffrey Fournier. Now, that is significant because he was ahead of him before that pit stop. So I'm not entirely sure what that now means, how much time he lost. He probably lost a good 6 or 7 seconds in that little moment. And Menno Clont was battling away with Bent Schupanek. Rudy Van Buren pits. But, yeah, Thomas Hinz looks to have lost some time somewhere.
I think it was an altercation with David Frančić in the Street Fighter car, to be honest. Van Buren pits from the lead. That is significant, obviously. But Frančić, I think, had to come together with Hinz. But Hinz has actually gone ahead overall in 7th. So he's ahead of Frančić and Horrell now in the Street Fighter cars. But yeah, Hinz had to come together with Frančić, it looks like. But it doesn't seem to have phased him.
Right, so Van Buren is leading after his pit stop. Bart de Vos is continuing on those tyres. David Feidek has now caught him. They come out of turn 1, down the main straight on the run to the Remus hairpin. Feidek just zooms down the inside, and it all looks fine and dandy. Now, apparently, we seem to have lost picture on the feed. Not sure what's happened there. We'll try and get it back up as soon as is physically possible. Feidek has made the move now on de Vos. Baldi into 4th. Morris, Fournier, Tom Hinz, Ben Horrell, Frančić, and Risto Capit is the order in 10th position as Florian Gaia makes another pit stop. But this is his 3rd visit to the pits now. And difficulties. Yeah, Matthew Allington just confirming with us that Hinz and Frančić made contact after Hinz got rammed by the Storm. Okay, so clearly he had that incident beforehand, and then Frančić got into him. So a problem there. Yes, we've been told by the people on the YouTube feed that the screen is black at the moment. We are trying to fix it. Apologies for that. Now, out of the pits has come Rudy Van Buren, and he's 5.6 ahead of David Feidek. Now, that is a smaller gap than I thought it was going to be. I thought he was going to be a lot further than that as Bart de Vos pits in as scheduled. But interestingly, Rudy Van Buren is only about 6 seconds up the road from Feidek. So he's made a mistake somewhere, or that pit stop has taken longer than it should have done, Josh.
Yeah, something must have happened along the line for him to have dropped that much time. But either way, he's going to have to make it up again is the thing that he's going to have to do now, because you can lose time, but if you can make it back, it's not so much of an issue. Bart de Vos is going to be under threat from Ben Horrell on the exit of the turn 1 here. Horrell's going to get through for 7th, and de Vos is going to come out 8th. But now it's going to be the case of Bart catching Ben and going for the overtake in his own right as they come into Remus now. And, well, obviously, de Vos is not going to count well. Oh, well, Ben Horrell, slightly bad exit here. De Vos is going to try and line up in the Schlossgold, I think.
So we know, obviously, apparently the feed has still got black pictures. We're trying to get them back up as quickly as we can. Bart de Vos diving for the inside of turn 3 as he makes the move on Horrell. That was very clean indeed from Bart de Vos as he moves up into 7th position. Now chasing down the Red Archers of Jeff Fournier and Thomas Hinz in 5th and 6th position. Still looking for a mighty points haul, that team. Rudy Van Buren has opened up another second on Feidek, so the gap is 7.1. Feidek in 2nd. Baldi is 3rd from Morris, Fournier, and Hinz. Then de Vos, Horrell, Frančić, and Capit. Risto Capit right on the back of David Frančić as they go to the penultimate corner. Diving down the inside. Capit goes through. That was neat and tidy, and that's a hard corner to overtake at as well. David Frančić offering no resistance at all as he lets him go. Clearly, he's obviously decided there's not a lot of worth in trying to fend him off. Cooper is now to 12th, by the way. Fran Lopez up to 13th. Then we have Florian Gaia recovering up to 17th position. And then we have back at the front, David Feidek is actually pulling away from Gergo Baldi. I wonder if Baldi made a mistake somewhere there and has dropped another couple of seconds off. As we've got Lee Morris in 4th position, closing him down. The gap has come down to 1.6. So Baldi is in threat of losing his 3rd position. This could be a really interesting scenario that we're in at the moment with these two. 3rd and 4th position, close battles.
Yeah, really close battles going on indeed in this Super League. It's what Super League's about these days, really. Just the battles that we get here is enthralling, the sort of battling we get. Even in the team rivals like the Street Fighter battle we got for 9th and 10th at the moment between Horrell and Frančić. It's so great to see that this can happen. And even more Ben Sapanic even having a little defend from Menno Clon ahead of Florian Gaia here. This is for 14th. And you got 3 cars within about 2 tenths of each other. This is how close it is as Fournier pits.
Oh, Zhupanek's gone!
He's gone. He's lost it. Off he goes.
Back end comes around. He buries it deep in the gravel. He'll be able to get it back again, but that's a real headache for Zhupanek. He now drops to 17th position. Clonton Jacobs are long gone, as of course is Florian Gaia, who's still having this great battle. Menno Claude dives up the inside of Tom Jacobs, gets the place, so he's up to 15th position. As into the pits goes Cooper. Fournier has just left the pits, so that's his scheduled pit stop done and dusted for the moment. Tom Hinz back into 5th position as a result. Van Buren starting to get the gap away again. Feidek in 2nd. Baldi has dropped back quite a considerable way on that last lap, actually. He's lost another second or 2. So Baldi's tyres clearly are starting to fall off. Lee Morris is closing him in. Tom Hinz is another 10 seconds down the road. De Vos in 6th. Good run this from Bart de Vos. We almost I almost forgot about the fact that, he's had that pit stop and he's in 6th position. So Bart de Vos is a bit of a wild card here for the top 5 here, Josh.
Could be Baldy pits from that position, and obviously Morris is going to take 3rd. Hinds might have a crack at 4th. DeVos really a wild card for the top 5, as you rightly say, and he's had great results in Super League before with Kerr now, so we know he's capable, we know the team are capable, but it's just been a case of finding the moment, really. Baldy's exiting the pits, but it's not going to be quick enough for Bart to not take the position. He does go through. Gergo is going to be under threat from Risto Capit, in fact, as he comes into turn 1, so does Capit, but it looks like Gergo is going to have the edge here over the two of them.
And he's going to be just far enough ahead that even Capit's up-to-speed shenanigans are not going to be enough to close up on him towards Remus. So Baldi is now 6th on the road. I think they've timed that pit stop pretty much to perfection. They needed to get out in front of Capit to have any chance at all of jumping Fidek, because Fidek needs to get another good run here. Morris is going to be a bit of an issue. In fact, Morris is actually getting some aggro from, look at that, Daniel Sharanku. Sharanku's playing to the Sylvester Stallone run at the moment, because Stallone is the teammate of Baldi, and he was trying to hold up Morris for as long as was humanly possible in the hope that Baldi is going to be able to hang on to the place, and Morris will be furious. He comes into the pits, almost does a Hamilton on the outside of the corner, and Morris comes into the pits, but he will be a little bit annoyed at what Daniel Sharanku tried to play there.
Yeah, well, I mean, as a lapped car, if you think you're fast enough, you have every right to go for the unlap, but Morris won't be very happy about it, that'll be certain. He'll have rather stayed behind. Hinds has gone through into 3rd, so Morris might even, he dropped down to 5th now, obviously, with the cars going through. Morris is going to be under threat from Capit. It is going to be close between two. I think Bristol's just got him, maybe, but it's going to be close. Yeah, Bristol just got him. Forney are going to close in, but Morris has gone down to 7th now as Horrell comes in.
Yeah, that's a disaster for Morris. He really needed to beat Risto Capit out of the pits to get the best out of this stint. And now he's going to have at least a lap sat behind Risto Capit. That is not what he wanted. He's going to be quicker than Capit because Capit is out of the tyre rotation. But that's a problem for Morris because he's now, what? That's going to be about 8 seconds roughly behind Baldi. Baldi goes into turn 3. Capit is next. Morris, well, no, he's about 4 seconds behind. So there's not a massive difference compared to the pit stop, and it's cost him a good 2 to 3 seconds just being sat behind Sharanko a little bit too long. So some nice team play there from Valters Automotive, but I don't think Morris is going to feel too kindly about it.
Yeah, I might not feel great about it, but still, it's his time to gain back, and gain it back he shall try and do. But we might even see a Morris Capit battle, which would be really a clash of two great giants if that happened. Keep an eye on it. In fact, it looks like Morris is starting to catch him up. But obviously, time will tell if they actually get into a two-way duel with each other. And, well, it's going to be interesting to see if it does happen, because it could be really, really interesting.
Well, our pictures have returned on the YouTube feed. Thank goodness for that. Rudy Van Buren leading the way in front of, you're not going to believe this, out on the road behind him is Alex Cooper. What a disastrous race this has turned out to be for Cooper, who could easily have been on the podium today. He is now a lap behind Rudy Van Buren, not because of speed, but because of circumstance. He just keeps being held the joker every single time he gets a good hand here, Alex Cooper. And this is a real difficulty. As into the pits in front of him goes Ryan Walker for a scheduled pit stop. But Rudy Van Buren continuing 10.8 seconds in front of David Fidek. Tom Hinds running well in 3rd position in the Red Archer. Bart de Bosch in 4th place. Baldi in 5th ahead of Capit and Morris. Morris makes the move up the inside of Risto Capit. He could not have afforded to sat behind Capit any longer than that. So that's good timing. Now, Fidek is in the pits. This is going to be critical. Where will he get out in the Baldi-Morris part of the circuit? He needs to figure out if he's going to get out in front of them or not.
I don't think he's going to get out ahead of behind Thomas Hinds. He won't get out ahead of Hinds. He's just going to come down the start, finish out, while Fidek is actually going to come into turn 1.
He is going to beat Hinds out.
Oh, it's well played for Fidek. He's going to beat Hinds out. He's not going to be anywhere nearly Morris.
Absolutely.
Contention.
That's brilliant. David Fidek and the Nordian team, they have pulled the mother of all pit stops there. They've got him in and got him out, and he retained 2nd position. Now, for me, that is the best chance yet of David Fidek going not for 2nd, for the victory, because he only lost, what is that? He's only lost about 20 seconds in that pit stop. Now, Van Buren got a pause stop last time. If Fidek can do that again with such a strong pit stop, the Nordian driver, the reigning champion, has a genuine chance to beat Rudy Van Buren today.
He has a genuine chance, yeah, he could do it. We could see the reigning champion back in championship form, and what a confidence booster that would be after a season that's not gone so well. Of course, Norton didn't bring any car upgrades into this round, nor did they bring any engine upgrades in. Only really engine upgrades have gone to the Valiant Power teams. but it would be great to see Spielberg back on the top side of that podium, even on the podium in general, really, because, well, you know, he's having a great race. Bart DeVos is going to inherit third because Hinz has come in, and Thomas Hinz is going to stop. I expected him in round about now anyway. Those tyres lasting about 10, 11, 12 laps for the Aussie, so I expected he'd be in soon anyway.
So Hinz will get out probably just behind his teammate Jeff Fournier. There goes Fournier past. Now the question is he going to beat Redshaw out? Because obviously Hinz has had a difficult stint. No, he's not. Redshaw is going to go through as well. So Thomas Hinz, it was looking like the Red Archers could well have been 5th and 6th, but that little contact with the incident with Menno Klont and David Francic earlier on has really held up Thomas Hinz a little bit there. So he now gets out on track about 4 seconds behind Redshaw. Meanwhile, Florian Guy is trying to make a bit of a comeback, closing up on David Francic. Francic has just managed to lap Daniel Sharanku without too much of an issue. But Rudy Van Buren, surely it's got to be not too long before he makes a pit stop. Fran Lopez is currently tagging Rudy Van Buren. He's been on the back of Rudy Van Buren for an entire lap here. And he is putting his car where it's not wanted at the moment. Is he going to go for a move on the inside of the Red Bull? I thought he was for a minute at Remus.
Well, he's going to have the DRS, unbelievably, as Fran Lopez. This could be the ultimate show of backmarker absolute gutsiness, really, if Lopez goes for it. He's not going to, but he's given Rudy Van Buren food for thought. And, well, if you're fast enough, Fran, I say go for it. You're perfectly entitled to.
Fran Lopez obviously giving Rudy Van Buren a bit of a hard time as they go through the left-hand sweep, down the drop towards turn 5. This is one of the faster parts of the corner. You get it wrong and it really will bite. And Rudy Van Buren using a lot more curb than he would have wanted to there. Picks it up nicely though. Francic in 11th position. I was actually out running some laps on this circuit earlier today in the World Touring Car Championship mod in Race Room. And you really do get a proper feel for how the circuit really undulates and changes. It's a very aggressive circuit if you're very kind to it. And Rudy Van Buren is actually having a bit of a hard time for Fran Lopez, twitching him up behind him. He almost went into the back of him there at turn 1. We've already seen a few incidents go awry for a couple of drivers. Yesterday we had Stefan Rualt in the Super Cup race take out Ed Patala when he was leading in race 2, missed his braking point completely and slammed into the back of him. I thought we were going to have a bit of a rerun there.
Well, luckily we didn't. I mean, Lopez is just stuck like glue to the back of Van Buren here. He's trying every single thing he can to get through. It's not working. But Fran Lopez really just making a statement there, I feel, saying, when I'm in the front of a race, I can win.
Well, Lee Morris is starting to have a go at Bart DeVos. Now, if I'm Bart, I'm not going to put up too much of a resistance here. I've got a completely different strategy to Lee Morris, so I need to just let him go and focus on my own race. Lee Morris nearly loses it, and Bart DeVos gets straight back through on the inside, and Ryan Walker has gone. Ryan Walker has gone in front of him. He's lost it into the Remus hairpin. He spins the back of the car, comes out, and he smacked the big hit on the barriers. Front end is destroyed for Ryan Walker, so his race is over. That is a real shame.
That is a real shame. I mean, he was running so well. It is great to see Ryan Walker running well, of course, and back in Super League. But ultimately, it didn't quite go his way. Van Buren, though, still under threat from Lopez at the front here. This is sensational. I was keeping on him. But I can't forget that Morris and DeVos are in a battle for track position in 4th. Morris, is he going to look at... No, he's not going to look at Brent. He's not going to go for there. But maybe into the final corner, he's going to start the lines. I'm going to go a bit wide, though, does Morris. And, well, it might not... Oh, well, that's a terrible exit for DeVos out of the final turn. And Morris is going to have him before he even get to turn 1.
Yeah, Morris will get the inside line. He's going to pull across. Oh, very cheeky there on DeVos. Swings right across to get the braking zone. But that was a bit of a statement of intent. You've been holding me up for a fortnight, mate. This is an absolute howler for my race. And it is, because he's now 3.7 behind Gergo Baldi. His chances of the podium are disappearing in front of him. But what's interesting here is that Spielberg has actually been closing in on Rudy Van Buren. Van Buren has been losing time to second place, not gaining it. And of course, Van Buren is going as long as he possibly can on these tyres. So Spielberg is trying to give him a little bit of pressure. When Van Buren does make his pit stop, I can see the Spielberg actually taking the lead on the road. But this is absolutely astonishing from Van Buren, making these tyres last as long as he can. And that is the reason Lopez and Cooper are still sat on the back of him. He can't get away because he's trying to look after the tyres to save himself a pit stop. And the guys behind are on equal speed in this phase of the race.
I wonder if Fran Lopez has anything to do with Van Buren's lack of speed here. I think, you know, he's He's worrying maybe a little bit about where Lopez is going here because he's a left car. He's trying to get through. He can't just let him through, obviously, because that would cost him too much time. But he's got to keep half an eye on Lopez. He can't devote his full attention to the race ahead. You know, that bright orange Adonis is right behind him, and he can't keep his eyes off it no matter how hard he tries.
Well, Lopez is doing the right thing here. He's following in the wheel tracks of the race leader, so he's not doing as much work to his tyres as he could be. He's also saving fuel, sat behind Rudy Van Buren here as well. So he's looking after the tyres, he's looking after the fuel, because he's in the draft. The car is not taking too much punishment, sat behind the race leader. So this is a good move from Lopez, and Cooper behind him is actually tagging on as well. This is a good chance for Lopez and Cooper to get a decent points haul here. They've both had disappointing races already, so this is a good opportunity for them to move up. This is a problem for Van Buren, though, because he is actually cutting through the air, trying desperately to save tyre life. Feidek is catching him hand over fist. Now, Van Buren is desperately trying to save himself a pit stop. Feidek is going hell for leather. Van Lopez is actually looking for an opportunity and then backing out of it. See, he's got a speed to overtake Van Buren, but from his point of view, Lopez has no reason to pass him. If he just sits behind Van Buren, he's saving tyres, he's saving fuel, he's looking after his own race. For Van Buren, this is a big problem.
If ever the words gravy and train were applicable to a motor race, this is it. Lopez getting maximum benefit for minimum possible effort. We've lost the Ben to panic after his, I think, incident before, unfortunately. But Lopez is on easy street at the moment. He doesn't have to worry about overtaking Van Buren. He just has to stay with him, and that seems easy enough.
Now, just watching what happened to Jupanek to get him retired. Oh, he made a pit stop, but as he left the pits, he just stopped on the pit lane exit. So clearly he's tried to repair the car, but something still doesn't feel right, so he's had to pull off and retire the car. That's a real disaster for him. Meadow Clont makes a pit stop. Rudy Van Buren continues on with Fran Lopez still underneath him. Alex Cooper's decided to pit. Lopez is just following in the wheel tracks of Rudy Van Buren. He's got to be so careful here. He's that close to the back of Rudy Van Buren. He's got to be so careful that he doesn't hit.
There was light contact there between DeVos and Gaia for P8 while they were going on each other. Slight wheel barging going on. DeVos has gotten through, but there wasn't without a little bit of contact between the two of them. But yeah, that obviously we've got multiple battles.
And Lopez has got past Van Buren. He's taken him into Rima's hairpin. So now Van Buren has obviously decided, you know what, mate? You're saving fuel. You're saving tyres. I'm going to follow you for a bit.
Yeah, Lopez just got him inside of Remus, and now I think Rudy Van Buren thinking, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do what you've done to me. I'm going to go on the gravy train now. It's my turn to have a ride. You're going to be the driver, not me.
Well, Capet makes a pit stop as he continues to try and save his bacon a bit, and that has put Fournier and Hinz back into the top 6 again. So the Red Archers are in P5 and 6 once more. Florian Gaia pits from 9th, so Bart de Vos has gone straight back through, as we expected. Rudy Van Buren is pitting now. Now, the gap is 22.3. So Van Buren is going to get out directly in front of Feidek. Now, because he's looked after his tyres, Van Buren still has the upper hand here, but the psychological advantage Feidek will get if he decides to take the lead, that is going to be a big one. But the trouble is, has Van Buren looked after his tyres enough that Feidek has got to pit? No. So Van Buren is still in the pit. Feidek is coming out of the final turn. He's not quite going to get the lead here, but Van Buren is going to have Feidek a lot closer to him than he will want him to be.
Yeah, he's going to have him right there, and he doesn't want him to be right there. I think the gap is going to be something like 3 or 4 seconds between the two of them. As well, Feidek is coming down here. It's going to be about 4 seconds between the two of them. And, well, that nose zoom will be becoming more and more visible. Baldy and Morris both in. Fournier in also. Hinz is going to take advantage of this. Baldy is probably going to get out ahead of Hinz, I imagine. No, actually, it's going to be so close between Baldy and Hinz. I think Hinz has actually jumped all 3 of them to come out and back into 3rd.
What an amazing run this is going to turn into be then for Hinz. After his pit stop, he is legitimately in front of Baldy and Morris, who have also pitted. So Tom Hinz has jumped them both. This is an incredible run from the Red Archer driver.
Yeah, he last pitted on about lap 34, so I imagine he'll be in about the 45, 46 mark again. But he really is starting to make serious inroads on that 3rd place now. And, well, this is really, really one of his best drives in GPVWC completely.
Right, I'm trying to do the math here. Feidek will need to make 3 more pit stops, I think, at this rate. What is going to be an issue, though, for him is that Van Buren, if he stretches the tyres long enough, will only need to make 2 more. So that is going to be an... Well, no, actually, no. Feidek is going to need to make 2 more pit stops. Van Buren, if he looks after the tyres in this phase, is only going to need 1. What's happened?
There's an Adonis had a bit of a collision with somebody. I think that may have been Whoopie Hoekstra, actually. And that is back down in 17th. But it was an incident of Remus right in front of, I believe, David Friday. Get Hoekstra tagged a Storm, then got clipped on a curb, and they pulled the Storm off. It was actually, I think, in front of Fran Lopez or somebody. But, yeah, Whoopie Hoekstra got clipped on a curb. Didn't want to go left, but ended up going left and took the Storm of Adrian McNaughton with him. But McNaughton ahead.
And they all got away with it. That is as close as you can come to a massive pile-up at Remus Hairpin without actually going to the barriers. That is an amazing save from everybody there. Great reactions, quick thinking from everybody to just allow the accident to happen, allow the energy to dissipate and get going again. That could so easily have ended for... That race could have ended for all three of them in one fell swoop. Now, interestingly, Van Buren on his fresh Super Softs is now pulling away from Fidek because I've just been looking at the tyre life of the drivers, Josh. Fidek is able to make these tyres last about 11 laps or so. And that's about as far as he can push them. Van Buren is able to make these tyres last well over that. 15 laps he's done for the last two stints. Now, he's going to need to make the tyres last at least 16 laps for one of the stints if he's only going to do one more pit stop. So that's going to be crucial.
Baldy's just jumped Hinds at turn 1 there, and well, he's gone through into third as a result. And well, Hinds now on those super soft tyres. I thought he was still on the Ultra, so he will be pitting later than I thought. But he's just dropped into fourth from Baldy. But I don't imagine he's going to let him go. May not directly go for the position, but he's going to keep him in his sight. He'll have DRS though, so he might consider it.
Well, the thing is, I still think Hinds has got a good chance of the podium here, even though Baldy's got through. Because let's not forget, Hinds has actually made the Super Softs in the first three stints last for 11 laps, 12 laps in the first stint. So Hinds is really good at looking after the tyres. This is only his first stint on the Super Soft. So he's been on these tyres 9 laps, don't forget. So he's still got a good opportunity here to beat these guys. This is why Baldy and Morris have both got to get through as Fidek pits from second. Now, this will be interesting. Where does he filter out between Baldy and Morris? So Morris has got to try and make a way past Tom Hinds. Hinds isn't racing these guys yet. He'll be racing them in the final stint. But Hinds has just got to focus on his own race, look after the tyres, because he's done one less pit stop than both Baldy and Hinds. Morris is going to take him on the main straight. Tom, just let them go. Good boy. He's got to let them go because this is his own race he's fighting with. Fidek has rejoined in second, long ahead of Baldy and Morris. But Tom Hinds drops to fifth. But it's not panic stations for him yet. He's still got a good chance because he's on one less pit stop than both the guys in front of him.
Yeah, he is on one last pit stop. He's got just as much of a chance. Lee Morris, though, as we say, going through into past Hinds, through into P4. And Morris, you can argue, fastest man on track at the moment because the lap prior to this, he set the fastest lap of the race, 1:09.554, and that's in that underdeveloped Mad Cape as well. So it says a lot about the talent of Lee.
Be banging wheels with him at this point, given this kind of percentage. But Van Buren out in front, 25 clear of David Fidek on tyres that are. Well, he's on tyres that are 4 laps older than David Fidek at the moment. But if he can keep pushing it that extra 4 or 5 laps, Van Buren will only need to make one more pit stop. Fidek, well, he's going to need to make one more now as well. But he can't make the tyres last as long. So, in fact, Fidek is going to have to push this set of tyres a little bit further than he's comfortable with. We're on lap 45. He can only really make those tyres last about 11 laps. So actually, Van Buren making these tyres last 4 laps longer is to his advantage because he's going to gain in total an entire stint, about 12 laps, if he can just keep pushing it. So Van Buren can save himself a pit stop by just driving his own race. Fidek is in a race for second and nothing else here unless Van Buren goes off the road.
Yep, and the chances of that happening are pretty slim anyway. We know how solid and consistent Rudy is as a driver, so I doubt for a minute we'll be seeing that happen, really. I don't think it's going to happen. Van Buren really just too good ultimately for that. And, well, David Fidek, even a second place would be very, very respectable for the reigning champion. Do not mistake yourselves. It would be very respectable for Fidek, who comes into this round having got a third in the first round and then a sixth in the seventh. Then, of course, his first DNF in Super League history. And, well, in fact, Fidek, a second would be really good because it would keep him roughly in this championship fight.
Indeed. Now, Bart de Vos has managed to leapfrog Jeff Fournier, but interestingly, so too has Risto Capit. We did say keep an eye on him. He's actually been on the mediums for a while to try and gain back some time because his overall pace has not been that bad. Sorry, not on the mediums. Sorry, he's been on the softs, hasn't he? My apologies. So, while everybody else has been on ultra softs and super softs, according to my timing screens, Capet has been on the softs. Now that means he can go longer into the stint, but because he's got the fastest car on the grid, ultimately he nearly loses it though on the exit of Risto Capet, managing to keep the pace going as much as he can. He's got himself back into 7th position, but I would not be too surprised if Risto doesn't want to talk to us at the end of the race. This is going to be another meeting of frustration for him, because the best really he can hope for ultimately from this race is going to be 7th, because his tyres will last longer, but they're not going to be fast enough to keep up with the likes of Baldi, Morris, Fidek and Hinz. So this is going to be a destructive race ultimately for Capet. He is closing in on DeVos, but DeVos is on a faster compound, so Capet is going to need to wait for this 6th position to fall in his lap.
Yeah, it's been a really testing season so far for Capet. Obviously a third and second in the 2nd, 3rd and 4th rounds, but a 9th place to start it. Has not helped his points all that much. Don't get us wrong, he's still only 11 points from Van Buren in the championship standings coming into this race, but he won't be happy with the 9th when his teammates going ahead and leading.
Hinz is in the pits.
Hinz is in the pits, yes, but I see cloud cover starting to form over the track here. Now, interesting tidbit of information, rain chance has been about 50% throughout this whole race, but there's been no sign of it so far. But the clouds are starting to form over this Austrian circuit, so keep an eye on it.
Yeah, this is going to be a difficult problem if it does break. We've got about 35% of the race still to go, so it's unlikely that it's going to cause too much of an issue if it were to break, but it's probably not going to break for another 10 to 15 laps or so if it does. Now, if it does, that means we're only going to have about 8 or 9 laps in the wet, but that could be the most costly 8 or 9 laps of most people's races. So that is something that needs to be kept an eye on. Again, we've got the same scenario we had before. Rudy Van Buren out in front, being caught by Fidek. Fidek is chipping away at Van Buren's gap. But what's important is that Van Buren can make those tyres last a little bit longer than David Fidek can overall. So Fidek can chip away at that gap all he likes, but it's stalemate. Van Buren is going to save himself a pit stop in all. So from Vodbor's point of view, you know, he's only actually used the Ultra Softs once, and that was in the opening phase to build the gap. Now he's been able to control the gap for the rest of this motor race. It's a shame because Fidek, on pure pace, has what it takes to be with Rudy Van Buren. Maybe he is hoping for a rain dance at this point. He's probably hoping that the rain is going to start falling.
Perhaps he is. It could change everything if it did. I mean, I'm keeping an eye on things, but it just seems to be getting darker and darker and darker as the clouds start to form over this circuit. And, well, I'm intrigued now if it is actually going to rain. It might be that this is a complete red herring, of course, and it's just going to pass over. But with clouds and rain and racing, you just never know these days. There's Lewis Redshaw, who's going to get a decent drive on Florian Gaia here for 9th out of Remus. He's going to not have the DRS, though. That goes to Gaia, who does get the DRS, and he is going to find himself holding that 9th. But Redshaw in that woods is not far off.
Well, I don't know about these clouds, actually, because on the far side of the circuit, up at the top of the hill at Remus, it doesn't look that big a deal. But when you get to the bottom end of the circuit, towards the start-finish straight, particularly in the final couple of corners, that's where the clouds are really coming in. So, actually, 2 of the toughest corners on the race circuit are where the rain are likely to hit, is likely to hit first. Now, that's going to cause a real problem, especially when it comes to tyre choice, because that's the corner that the drivers will bow into the pits from. So, this is going to be a difficult one strategically if the rain does fall at that end of the circuit first, because most of the circuit will be dry, but these guys are actually going to have to second guess their strategy in terms of where they make the pit stop. And Buren is not really having much of an issue with these tyres at the moment. Fidek is pushing them quite hard. Baldi is trying to get away from Lee Morris, who again is absolutely ramming his way around the circuit in terms of apexes. He's hitting every single one and nailing it beautifully. DeVos in 5th, Capet in 6th place. Fournier and Hinz have dropped back to 7th and 8th overall because both DeVos and Capet have jumped them. Gaia, this is a great comeback for him in 9th place. Redshaw 10th from Horrell, Cooper, Clont, Francic and Lopez. McNaughton and Hoekstra are both in the pits. Hoekstra had to go round the outside of McNaughton to pit in. I've never seen that before.
Well, I may not have seen it before, but it's just happened there. And, well, it's obviously McNaughton's gotten back ahead again. Lopez in the points now. And, well, cars trying to get through on a lot of them, really. Oh, it's looking very dark now, back now here, Remus corner. It is looking so dark around there. But this might all just be a red herring for all we know. It might not actually be about to rain. Oh, maybe it's just cloud cover. You just don't know with racing these days. God, look how dark it is running down in that corner.
Yeah, it is really, really starting to get ominous now. David Fidek going through. The light is fading, and that means that we've got a lot of clouds moving in overhead. So if these break, just watching them go through turn 5, it's almost like it's going to be a night race now, the amount of cloud cover we've lost. According to Cenobite, it looks like it will remain dry, so this is going to be a bit of a psychological worry more than anything else for the drivers out there. I'm just watching Fidek as he goes around the track. He's pushing it very hard. The thing is, it's dark at the top of the hill, but it's not so bad on the main straight. So I think Cenobite away at that gap. It's come down to 23.2 seconds now as Baldi pits in. Now, this is going to be a key stop. We need to see where he gets out in relation to Lee Morris. Morris is on the run to the penultimate corner, so Baldi should have enough time to pit in and get out again without losing a place.
He should do. Baldi should have this, really. Morris is not going to catch him quickly enough because Baldi is just exiting the pit slip limit at speed area now. And Morris is just coming into turn 1 now as Baldi exits the pit lane. It's going to be close between them, but Baldi is just going to get out ahead. Yeah,
but Morris has got a good run here, so if he can get to the braking zone for Remus, he could set up a move into turn 3. He's not quite... Yeah, he will have DRS, so he's not quite close enough yet. But as they come out of Remus, if Morris gets a good run, he's not going to be close enough now to run out of turn 3, but Morris is definitely going to have Baldi in his sights, and Gergo is going to need to focus one direction, and that is in front of him. He cannot focus on Morris at all. He's just got to get on with his own race. This is the fight, don't forget, for 3rd position in this motor race.
Yep, fight for P3, Capit, Baldi, Morris, all within contention of that 3rd at the moment. And David Fidek obviously in 2nd with Van Buren, leading by a country mile from anybody else. But, you know, this is really where it's at. 3, 4, 5. The battle on at the moment. Capit from Baldi from Morris. Capit the only one of those 3 on the soft tyres. The other 2 on the super softs. I mean, they're on quicker rubber, but it doesn't last as long. Morris, though, is going to have the DRS on Baldi. It's coming in the first turn, but I don't imagine for a minute he'll be close enough to actually mount an overtake. I imagine they have to wait till turn 2 or turn 3.
Well, this is a point. Risto Capit is now genuinely a contender for the 3rd place. Making those softs last about 4 laps longer than the other guys are making their super softs last, and he's actually got genuine grip. So at some point, oh, Morris nearly goes into the back of Gergo Baldi. That was so close indeed as Morris tries to put Baldi under pressure. I was just going to say, Capit genuinely has a chance to get back into this because he's made those soft tyres last an incredibly long length of time, about the same length of time as his team leader, Rudy Van Buren, has been able to make these super softs last, and that has brought him back up to scratch with the Fidek Baldi Morris battle. Fidek pits in. Watch for Capit in the last 20 laps of this race, because Capit genuinely has a chance to get, never mind 3rd position. Capit could catch them all napping here and get into 2nd place. If he changes for the super softs in the final stint, Capit could get 2nd place.
We'll have to see what he does. David Fidek just exiting the limiter area now, so he won't exit behind Capit. He will stay ahead of Risto. Lee Morris has just done what he did before and set the fastest lap at 109.3, but Gergo Baldi set the fastest 2nd second, so he's trying to have a go as well. He wasn't much slower than Morris. The Baldi and Morris in this battle for 3rd, potentially 2nd, are going as fast as they possibly can.
Florian Gaia into the pits now. Watch Morris on the back of Baldi as they come out of the hairpin. Morris has got a... Baldi twitches on the exit. He will have DRS. Now, Morris is going to get right underneath Baldi, but he's not surely going to be able to throw it up the inside of turn 3. He's just going to be sitting on the back of the Hungarian. Morris moving a lot in the apex, but he gets good traction off the turn. So Morris versus Gergo Baldi is going to be quite an intense battle. Morris is only just getting started here, really, on the back of the Hungarian. So Baldi is going to have to watch his mirrors very closely to figure out where Morris is going to go. And let's be fair, Morris is the kind of driver who will try the overtaking move that the guy in front won't expect. And knowing how talented Morris is, he's one of the drivers more likely to pull it off.
Yeah, he can pull this off, really, Lee Morris. We know he's got the talent in bags to do so. But the question is, will he be able to? That's the thing. It's one thing being as talented as Lee Morris, but then making an overtake happen is another. Look how close he gets the Baldi in turn 1 there. Practically ran into the back of him. That's how determined he is, but he's got to have a run through it to Schlossgold now. There is no question about that. If he can get this close, never mind that. I thought he was going to have a go through his, but he's just going to try and set it up against him. It's slippery. This is going to be a brilliant battle for 10th for 4th place. Rudy Van Buren, we might have forgotten about him, but he just set the fastest lap of the race. Hayden stays on Ultra Softs. Is he going for 2 sets of goals here? Is he just going to go hell for leather? That's the question. He's staying on those purple sidewall tyres, so he's going Ultra Soft, or he's going to go very, very, very longevity based on this stint and try and make them last the full 14. I don't know what he's going to do, but it's interesting to see he does this because Gaia's not far behind.
Well, Hinz has made the tyres last a maximum of 12 laps. I think Hinz is going to push it hell for leather because from his point of view, he can afford really to make one more pit stop when he knows that the guys around him have got to make a pit stop too. But the timing of their pit stop means they'll be on super softs. So Hinz can go onto the ultra softs twice and gain a lot more ground. So from Hinz's point of view, he needs to do qualifying laps to the end of the race on ultra softs. He could easily finish in the top 6 here because Risto Capit ahead of him is still trying to look after a set of softs. Capit has gone onto the softs again. He's going to try and make those tyres go for the full race distance, Risto Capit, because he did not switch to super softs. So Risto is still on the soft compounds. Hinz is on ultra softs. If I'm Thomas Hinz, I'm going to go hell for leather and do 2 stints on the ultra softs.
Perhaps so, but he's going to have to do qualifying laps. Morris and Baldy still so close between each other. This is not going away, this battle between the two of them. Morris got so close to Remus there. I almost touched him, but didn't. This is an amazing battle between the two of them. This is the Lopez and Ball. Google Ball, he just can't get out of battles. It was Fran Lopez last race, now Lee Morris this race. He just can't get away from battles. That's the thing. He just doesn't want to stop fighting people.
2 races back to back. Diego Baldi has been in a rock and a hard place, hasn't he? As he tries his best to fight for position. Lee Morris is now his opponent. Fran Lopez was last time. And now Lee Morris is just going for hell for leather. Right, they're both in together. Baldi and Morris both in together. Now this is critical because whoever does the better pit stop will be the one who gets the lead out. Now, was that coincidence that they're both in together? Or have they planned it that way? Well, they're both going to go onto super softs. There's no question about that. They can't afford to go onto ultra softs at this point. They can't make them last long enough. It's a stalemate. Baldi is still in front of Morris, but Baldi gets a better pit stop than Morris, so there's going to be a few car lengths between them. Now, that is crucial for the Valtus Automotive team. Baldi has well and truly beaten Morris in this pit stop battle, and it's the last battle they'll go to in the pits.
And Risto Capit has jumped a lot over them in the meantime. Into third he goes. But remember, these two are on fresh and softer rubber. So they're going to catch the Estonian, you would think. And, well, that is going to be a battle that we will be interested in seeing, really. But now, Capit has to battle Baldy and Morris. Because if they get through, this time it will be for the rest of the race.
Well, the best now that... I'm just trying to do the math here. I think the best that Hinz can hope for, as we said already, is to go hell for leather on these ultra softs. Try and make them last. He may, midway through the stint, try and change his strategy because Gaia behind him, I think he's going to need to make one more stop because he's only on his 7th lap on this stint. He's going to need to make a stop again. And what's Gaia going to go on to? Come on, it'll be ultra softs. Nothing else will be good enough for him at the end of the stint. Bart de Vos is worth a look as well, because De Vos has been able to make these tyres last a bit, but he's going to need to make one more stop, and I'm sure he'll go on to ultra softs as well. So De Vos is not out of contention for the top 6 yet either. Capit is hanging on to 3rd position for dear life here because he's got the soft tyres on. Behind him are Baldi and Morris on super softs. They'll be quicker, not much quicker, but quick enough that Capit will have to defend like crazy if he wants to hang on to 3rd position.
Yep, and he is going to have to defend like mad for this 3rd place. You'd imagine at this point, Capit at 87% race completion. You know, he's had such a tough time of it, but 3rd place again, he's going to have earned it, really, if he gets it. But he'll have a battle between Baldy and Morris to deal with.
Now, Fidek is going to try and stretch these tyres as long as possible. But the question is, what will he do in the final stint? Because we know that he can make the ultra softs go 10 laps. We've got 8 laps to go now. So I wonder, is Fidek going to pull a bit of a curveball here and go on to ultra softs? Now, he's not going to be able to take out enough of a gap on Rudy Van Buren to win the race in pure speed. But in terms of the psychological aspect, Fidek could throw a bit of a curveball to Van Buren. And if he's going to make a mistake, then Fidek is going to be hell for leather to go for the victory. Because Fidek is taking a lot of time out of Van Buren here. But is he making up enough time to take the risk for going on to ultra softs for the final stint? I think he could do.
Well, the last laps between the two of them was Fidek was 2/10 down on Van Buren, but he's staying there or thereabouts in terms of overall pace. Thomas Hinz is doing about the same as Rudy Van Buren for lap time pace. Morris and Baldy both the personal best, but Bart DeVos of all people has just had the fastest lap.
Good run from Bart DeVos. Now, if I'm Feidek, he carries on. If I'm David Feidek, I'm going to try and make this set of tyres I'm on last as long as possible without losing time, because he has now started to lose a little bit of traction to Rudy Van Buren. Then go on to Ultra Softs. He's in second. He's half a minute ahead of Risto Capit in third, who's losing time to Baldi and Morris. From Feidek's point of view, second is very nearly guaranteed. What the hell? You may as well go onto the Ultra Softs. What if Van Buren has a problem? What if he makes a mistake? What if it starts to rain and he's the first person to hit the trouble? Feidek has got nothing to lose from going onto Ultra Softs for the final stint, so he may as well try it. You never know. It could work.
And it's the people who have nothing to lose that can sometimes be the most dangerous. So Feidek really could be a threat to Van Buren if he does pick those Ultras. But we will have to see whether he does or not. 63 laps, of course, have been completed. We're on lap 64, going on to lap 65. So we have only really got about 6 laps to go.
Well, Van Buren's victory is pretty much assured here. Even if Feidek does pit for Ultra Softs, he's going to get out about 38 seconds or so behind Rudy Van Buren. He'll never be able to win the race from there, but he will be on the faster tyre, so he might just be able to get that psychological upper hand to get the fastest lap away. He wants to get the triple, Rudy Van Buren, pole position, fastest lap and race win. Feidek may be able to take something away from him if he goes onto the Ultra Softs at the end of the race here, but once again, Rudy Van Buren out in front in the Vodbull. It's becoming a bit repetitive, but clearly best driver for the best package.
Yeah, really just is there, and the best drivers do tend to find themselves in the best cars.
Right. We need to jump to third. We need to jump to third now, because Capit has been caught by Baldi, and Morris is closing in on both of them as a result. This is the third place battle, and neither of these drivers are going to make any more pit stops. Capit has got to make these tyres last as long as he possibly can.
Oh, Baldi!
Baldi's gone wide!
It's like, yeah, he had a slide out of one, and that's going to let Morris straight in. And we have the perfect scenario for Capit here, because these two are going to battle each other. It's going to hold them both up. Capit's going to gain distance. Baldi lunges down the inside of Remus. And it's on now between Morris and Baldi yet again. And Capit's got the best seat in the house.
This is heaven sent for Risto Capit. The Estonian has got himself a chance of third position, because if these two continue to battle, they are not going to get the podium. Now, Lee Morris and Gergo Baldi need to work together here. They need to remind themselves Capit in front of them is on softs. We're on super softs. Let's get him first. Then we'll battle away against each other, because if they can't get past Capit, Capit will get the podium whatever, and all of this hard work will be for nothing. Baldi and Morris need to settle their differences for the moment. They need to get Capit first.
I think Baldi's going for Capit. He's looking, he's sizing him up. But Lee Morris, will he do this or no? That's the question. Will he settle his differences with Baldi? Is he thinking, nope, me first, not you, and go for him anyway? We'll have to see. But Baldi's going to have to be out for Capit. Get on the DRS into the first turn. I think Baldi should have this. Capit doesn't look to be fighting it too hard. Yep, and now Morris can go through. So they have settled their differences. Morris is going to go second. Then they can get this battle back on. And Capit will still have the best seat in the house. That hasn't changed.
Well, Capit's actually got the draft for Baldi. He's going to have another crack at it. We need... Morris is going to go to the far side of Baldi. Baldi goes through, Morris goes through. Capit's trying to get the undercut, but it's not going to happen. Good racing from both Baldi and Morris. Capit is a sitting duck. He has nothing he can do about it, and he's just going to watch them disappear and become two tiny dots in the distance as Morris nearly goes into the back of Baldi. That was so close there. But this is going to be a heartbreaking moment for Risto Capit as his race spirals out of control around him. He's just going to watch the whole thing fade and crumble.
Well, not necessarily. If anything happens ahead of him again, he's got the best seat in the house to capitalise. But yet again, Morris and Baldi, solid all race. You got to feel for Capit that this might be it. But still, a 5th place will be all right. But it's not going to be anything to write home about, you'd imagine, for the Estonian leader. Wanted more, and he doesn't look like he's going to get more. But he can hope that Morris and Baldi hold each other up or have an incident.
Well, Tom Hinds actually looks as though he's trying to stretch this set of tyres to go as long as he possibly can. He's in 6th position in front of Florian Gaia, and Gaia is trying to stretch out these tyres as long as possible as well, but surely Gaia's got to pit in again.
I had a feeling Hinds might stretch the tyres. I thought, well, he's probably going to just go into tyre preservation mode, to be honest with you, and well, he's been doing...
Dropping like a stone behind them, and as you said, Josh, if these two get into it and have an incident, then it is going to be Baldi versus Morris. Yep, Feidek is into the pits for his last pit stop. This will be a quick one, and he will just secure his second position with some Ultra Softs. Surely, he's now going to get the fastest lap of the race, if I know David Feidek. He's going to try and go out there, get the fastest lap, He'll be in second place. It won't be the victory he wants, but it'll be a nice way to... Yeah, ultra softs. That is not exactly hard to believe, but Baldi and Morris still battling away for that third place. Capit is actually staying with them in terms of pace. He hasn't lost too much ground. Morris now needs to get into Baldi. It's gone dark again at the first corner, but not enough, I don't think, to worry about the rain. But this race is now all about Baldi versus Morris for that third and final step on the podium.
I don't think at this point in the race it would matter anyway. I think everyone would just try to stay out on the slick tyres, and with these little laps to go, I don't think pitting would really achieve anything anyway. But yeah, Fidek's probably going to go for the fastest lap. Baldi and Morris are preoccupied with each other. Captain and Hinds are just hoping that something happens. And then you got the likes of Geyer and DeVos still battling each other for 8th. We've got, you know, cars up and down still going for positions here, even though Van Buren, with a couple of laps to go, is still miles ahead of everybody.
So Rudy Van Buren is on lap 69 of 71. 3 laps to go for the leader, Van Buren, as David Fidek runs half a minute behind him in second place. But Van Buren in the Vodbull has controlled the pace of this race throughout, as we kind of thought he would if he got an opportunity to in the first corner. It's all about the start for Rudy Van Buren. Once he gets clear, he is history. And again, it's hard to look beyond him as driver of the day for this one. Just the crushing dominance he's displayed. But we could still have one tasty little fight to come, because Vodka Hoekstra could end up being a cork in the bottle here as Baldi and Morris start to close him down. They've got 3 laps to go themselves now, and 3 laps for the final step of the podium.
Yep, just 3 to go, and well, oh, Morris gets so close to the Remus. This is his thing, getting him on the break and getting a chance at the DRS, and then, well, just trying to gain time back, and well, they've got lap traffic to do with the Baldi and Morris. David Fidek did the fastest first set. I see theories right, Jake, going for nothing other than fastest lap at this point. I imagined he probably would, but Rudy Van Buren on lap 70 of 71, again, really has dominated this race, but Baldi and Morris really one of the battles still that is going to be going, and they've got an Adonis ahead to worry about, but he's just moved out of the way, so they don't anymore.
Mike Quint says on YouTube, this is more exciting than a real F1 race. You're not kidding. Very close indeed between Baldi and Morris, as Morris again tries to size up Gergo Baldi. They both got past Vopko Hoekstra without too much of an issue there. But Baldi is actually starting to use his tyres to good advantage here to stretch out in front of Morris. I'm not sure he's going to give him the satisfaction of another chance as they go into lap 70 of 71. Morris is doing everything he can in the braking zone to get closer to Baldi. But I think that move on Risto Capit came in exactly the right moment for Gergo Baldi. He was able to break the toe of Morris, and that's all he needs to do. The gap is half a second. So technically DRS could come into play here and Morris could close up. But all Baldi's got to be now is smooth. If he stays smooth, Morris isn't going to get close enough to have an opportunity.
Rudy Van Buren starts the final lap, but yeah, Lee Morris just has to get this done. Again, he gains in the corners. Chris Shepperton, he's so good breaking on the turn, and you are absolutely right. He just has it on the brakes in the corners. Lee Morris absolutely on it. As they go on to the final lap, though, I think Baldi's probably going to be holding the cards here ultimately as the potential winner of this battle. But Baldi and Morris, this whole time they've been battling, has been nothing but phenomenal. It's been battle of the race, and well, Van Buren, you might argue driver of the race. I'm going to say Thomas Hinds personally, just how well he's done, and the fact he was running so high at points. I don't think we can forget Hinds at any point, but really we can't look past Rudy Van Buren as he comes around the 4th and 5th turns now for anything other than race victor, because it's going to be race win number 3 for RVB.
And speaking of that battle between Thomas Hinds and Florian Geyer, it's gone wrong for Geyer. He is struggling to look after his tyres. He's having to come off the racing line to cool them down because he's making these tyres go so long. This is the 17th lap on Supersofts for Geyer. He is hanging on by a thread in front of Bart de Vos, who's on a brand new set of Supersofts himself. Well, de Vos is going to push it further than Geyer, but de Vos is going to get him here on the run to Remus. Geyer is defending like crazy, and if anybody can hold him off, it's Florian Geyer. The German working so hard to hang on to 7th place. Thomas Hinds is going to be secured here, but Rudy Van Buren takes the checkered flag and wins out in front. An absolutely cracking race. So many battles. I missed Van Buren going across the line. That's how brilliant the racing's been. Fidek in second position. Baldi and Morris are going to battle to the line, but it's not going to change. Fidek is going to be a brilliant second place. That's a really strong result for David Fidek. The reigning champion gets second position in fine style. Gergo Baldi third and Lee Morris fourth. They've entertained us royally today here at the Red Bull Ring. Magnificent. Risto Capit did his best and fought back to 5th. Valiant effort. but it's not good enough for the podium. But here comes Thomas Hinz in the Red Archer. He is absolutely elated with that. 6th position must feel like a victory for him today. What a drive it's been. Florian Gaia just beats Bart DeVos over the line. That could not have been much closer. Fournier comes through for 9th place. It's been a good, strong run for Red Archer today. Red Shaw in 10th from Fran Lopez, Alex Cooper, Menno Klon, Ben Horrell, and our last point scorer is David Francic, the Croatian, in front of Vodko Hoekstra, Adrian McNaughton, Thomas Jacobs, and Daniel Sharanko, with retirements, I'm afraid to say, for Ben Schumanek, Ryan Walker, Matt Varley, and Tobias Olsen. But once again, Rudy Van Buren proves himself to be the class of the field. Absolutely magnificent display here, Josh. And once again, it's hard to consider anybody beating him for the championship now.
Yeah, if he wasn't championship favourite before, he certainly will be now after such a dominant performance. But driving, we can't forget the likes of Feidig, Baldy, Morris, Capet, Hinz, Gaia, all very, very good races as well, you know. And Fran Lopez to come from the back to 11th, very respectable in his own right. And, well, just up and down the field, we've had amazing races, amazing battles, and Austria proving itself to be just as good a race as any other.
Well, it's time to reflect then and talk about what's been going on in the race. No doubt the drivers will be telling us a little bit about what's been going on. It's been a bit of a sour race in the end for the likes of Alex Cooper, for Risto Capet. He'll be disappointed with 5th position. Tobias Olsen ending his race very early on only lap 13. He'll be disappointed with that. There's a couple of drivers who will be very happy. Let's get straight in there. He's ready to talk to us right off the bat. So let's get straight in there with our race winner, Rudy Van Buren. Rudy, that's win number 3 this year out of 5. It's definitely starting to look like championship could definitely be on now.
Well, yeah, that was on from the beginning. We had a little setback in Russia, but from there on, everything was good. So we keep on building on it. Today was a good day again. We hope to extend that.
So obviously today, I'm guessing a lot of that race was basically won and lost on the first lap, because once you got clear of the battle and left them to squabble, it was just about controlling the tyres for out.
Yeah, from the beginning I knew I was on the 4-stopper. I wasn't actually expecting the other ones to go for 6, but that kind of evolved after like the first 2 stints. You could see the pattern come up, and I knew I was on the good side of it. But yeah, the beginning definitely helped the squabble behind me. That gave me the little bit of free air to not be in DRS range from multiple fighting guys behind me, and from there on I could just build on and gradually extend the gap.
Josh, I'm sure you've got a question or two for Rudy.
Well, yeah, obviously 3 wins out of 5 races now. Really championship victory looking on your side. And of course that Vodpro package really, really dominant out there on track at the moment, Rudy. And well, just came shy of the Grand Slam, actually. I do believe that, you know, you were pretty much on for the Grand Slam at points in this race. And David Feidig challenging with the fastest lap in the last couple of, you did actually get the fastest lap at 1 minute 9 dead. But, you know, do you think surely there must be a race going to come up soon, Rudy, where you will get every single race lap led as well as the triple?
Well, I hope it does. Today it was always logic that he was going to get the quickest lap, bidding for ultra soft so far to the end, while I was already like 15 laps into it. So that's no biggie. I look at the end result, and if that means that I'm first at the line, then everybody else can have the fastest lap.
Well, Rudy, fantastic stuff. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us. It's been a great result for you. Well done. Great victory.
Yep, thank you.
Right, let's talk to a couple of the men who engineered their way onto the podium. Andreas Wouters, team boss of the Wouters Automotive team, and Gergo Baldi in 3rd position. Andreas, first of all, I suppose that was a bittersweet race for you guys, because the strategy was looking pretty good at times, but circumstances kind of got the better of both of your cars at some points.
Yeah, for sure. It was a hard one. I think strategy was decent, but of course we saw that the people in front of us were quite fast, to be honest. Yeah, we know that Rudy just drives away from people. That's what he does. And David had really nice pace, which was also nice to see, because yeah, it's also Martek's engine, so congrats for that. But I think that Gergo drove very well, and that we were following up the strategy quite okay, especially in the fight with Lee. It was about keeping in front and trying to guess what he was going to do and then reacting to that. So well done.
Very good work indeed, Gergo. And that battle right at the end of the race there, well, throughout the second half of the race, I should say, between you and Lee Morris, that was such a difficult battle. Were you sort of thinking in the back of your head at points, Valencia, you versus Fran Lopez, and now here you are again with Lee Morris? That must have been quite a pressure cooker.
Yeah, it was, but I got used to it. I had many hard moments with France, so yeah, I learned something from him. So yeah, I used that now, and yeah, it went quite well.
And battling away with Lee Morris, there were some really close moments between you guys. You never really looked as if you were, pushing harder. Neither of you were really pushing harder than you could in that battle. You looked as if you had a lot of control throughout the course of the stint.
Yeah, of course, you had to look for the tires as well. So not just pushing the car the limit. You need to focus on the tires as well, and that's why we had to neutralize our pace.
So fantastic result, and hopefully maybe it'll be Fidek that you beat next time when we get to Monaco.
Yeah, hopefully. But I love the track, so I have high expectations with myself and the team. So yeah, hopefully it's gonna be better.
Brilliant stuff. Josh, any questions for Gergo or Andreas?
Yeah, well done to obviously the both of you, team manager and driver, for that fantastic result. I'd like to actually talk to Andreas myself. Obviously, Gergo, great job on P3, but Andreas, as a team manager, this has really been a bit of a bounce back season for you, inheriting the potential engine supply towards the back end of last year, and then obviously becoming customers of engines this year. It might not have been a great 2016 for you, but you're definitely bouncing back this year.
Yeah, I think everything about this season is better than last year for us. We have a great engine supplier. It was a deliberate choice to not go for the Valiant. I know it's a great manufacturer, all credits to Mike, but Martex also does their homework. They know what they are doing, and we wanted to be one of the teams that wasn't part of the pack. I know it's a risk, but we chose for it deliberately, and it's something that's been paying off. Of course, now the Valiant was stronger this time. But we think that Mortex can keep up, and we do not regret this decision. We have quite a good team in terms of making setups, practicing. There's a lot of drive, and let's just keep going and see where we can end up.
I guess that's what it's ultimately about, just seeing how you end up. But of course, Gergo as well, you as a driver, obviously, you're second in the standings coming into this race, and then that position for you is going to help affairs even more. Martex Power seems to be working for you as well.
Yeah, it works out quite well. The whole package worked out quite well now in Austria, and hopefully in the future races it's going to work well as well.
Yeah, well, great stuff. Of course, thank you, Gergo. Thank you, Andreas, for joining us. Pleasure to have both of you with us for a chat. And Jake, we were talking about Valiant engines and how they were passed up by Wilders Automotive. I see the man who's in charge of that engine supply waiting to be interviewed.
Well, yes, indeed. The man who is, of course, behind the Vodbull operation. He's seen Rudy Van Buren take the victory, and now Mike Pittman joins us. Mike, an interesting race from your point of view, and good to see the Valiant Power unit on top as usual.
Yeah, it went quite well, really. Could have gone not as good as last time out, obviously. But yeah, always nice to see. And, Andreas, you're more than welcome to come to us in 2018 when we win the championship.
Yeah, sure. We'll think about it. You can convince me again. Mike, congratulations, man. Well done.
Fantastic. Mike, I wanted to talk a little bit about the way that the Vodbull race went down, because obviously Rudy out in front, phenomenal drive, as we've seen before. Risto's race, it was a really difficult one once he got tagged by Fidek. Now, I'm guessing from his point of view, basically that was a real pressure moment because you kind of had to rewrite the script in a couple of seconds. Was the softs always going to be the best option in terms of getting him as far up the grid as possible, or was that a bit of a gamble?
The amount of stops was always the plan. It was just the two guys actually managed the tyres ever so slightly differently at this track. It didn't quite work out that we could run the same strategy on both cars. So we one man, running the supers and one man the softs, but the strategy itself with the amount of stops we thought was the best route. and it managed to let him pull Risto back. I think without that issue, we could have seen a double podium again.
Okay, so obviously now we go to Monaco. That's going to be a really difficult one in terms of strategy and setup. Do you think that your cars are going to be as strong as they've been in the last 5 races, or is that going to be a bit of a difficult problem? Because obviously out-and-out power is not really going to come into play in Monaco. You guys are going to have to do a really strong job in terms of strategy.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at the upgrades, Monaco isn't a Grand Prix that we're bringing the upgrades to. We brought it to here, whereas most teams are bringing it to the next one because it's such a gamble. It could be anyone's race, to be honest. We like to think that we've got the package to be right up there, down to the drivers and the setups and the team and all together with the car and Valiant power. But ultimately, it's not all down to that at Monaco. It's such a gem on the calendar that I wouldn't want to call it. We're quietly confident, but at the same time, we could come nowhere. So it's nice to have a little bit of a cushion in the championship to a degree now to have a potential poor round if needed, and if anywhere, it's probably the place I'm least confident about. But maybe that's just me watching how close the barriers are to my cars.
Very good point, Josh. Anything to ask Mike?
Yeah, well, obviously, great race for you from a vaudeville perspective, Mike, and of course, it is interesting to have someone of your experience, really here in the interview with us, because obviously, vaudeville team manager, engine supplier, supplying half of the grid. Well, I imagine by next year you'll aim to supply everybody.
Well, you say that, but as Andreas pointed out, actually, if you stick with the same engine as us, you've got to beat us in other ways, haven't you? So I can see why certain teams would try and go other engine routes to try and gain an advantage potentially. I think that's the wrong idea, but I can see why people would do it. I'd rather jump on the band. It's the same in F1. Everyone wants a Mercedes engine. You don't go different than buy a Honda.
It would be nice to have the Super League, Storm Child Super League powered by Valiant, wouldn't it?
Well, we powered Formula Challenge a few years ago, so never say never, but I don't think the guys at the factory could produce quite that many engines. We do struggle as it is.
Again, just going to make a factory, that'll sort it. Thank you very much for joining us, Mike. Of course, pleasure to have you with us. And, Jake, I think it's about time we interview the Mad Cape driver extraordinaire himself.
Yes, indeed. Well, he's had to work so hard again in this motor race and so nearly on the podium. Again, driving the wheels off a car that has no right to be in the top 3 and so nearly on the podium. Lee Morris, once again. Lee, have you just about recovered from all of that? That was one heck of a fight.
That's all I can say.
I thought you were going to say "boah" for a moment.
It could be any of them words. I drove, like you say, I just tried my very best. I just drove the utter wheels off that thing today, and I got every inch of track out of it, and every more. Sometimes I have nothing left. Just absolutely worn out after that. I've never finished a race so sweaty in my sim racing career.
Okay, so straight to the showers for you then. I just wanted to ask, actually, the battle with you and you both had a really good set of cards to go into that battle. You both got some good choice overtaking moves. Every time you got him, he got you back, and vice versa. Risto Capit, you're getting past him. That was the real moment that defined the race, because Baldi, do you feel that Baldi just got one over on you in terms of how quickly he got past Capit? Was that the moment the race was decided for you?
Well, in the last stint, probably not, because I passed him and I was still in the DRS of Baldi. So that was okay. It was the stint before, I think Baldi got past him with DRS down the straight, and when I got to him, I had to battle him for a lap, and I lost a second. But the biggest difference in the race, in the final stint, was when we did the last pit stop. I lost probably a second in the pits because of the pit crew improvement that they have, and we don't. So when I came out from being 0.4 behind on his gearbox on the entry and literally locking all the wheels up, going sideways into the pits, trying to make some time up, I came out of the pit exit 1.3 seconds behind, so outside the DRS again. It took me 2 or 3 laps to catch that back up. So that was probably the moment, because I think we were our strongest, obviously, in the new tyres compared to him. We seemed to have a lot more pace initially in the stints. But then my idea was just to run him down and try and wear his tyres out, which we almost did. But there was just nothing left at the end.
So now we go from here to Monaco, where having the best car does not really have too much of a relevance compared to other circuits. So from your point of view, we're looking at the potential race winner. I mean, obviously, you've been very good so far this year of driving the wheels off a racing car. If you can get a good qualifying in Monaco, is the win on? Do you feel confident you can do well there?
Well, this is probably the least competitive I've been at a track so far. Austria, I just never got a good feel for this. I don't know why. We just never had the right setup.
And yet you were fourth. And yet you were fourth. That's absolutely brilliant.
This is how bad it was. Literally 5 minutes before qualifying, we had a massive wing change because we realised we'd gone the wrong way on wings. So the setup was just compromised all the way through. I was changing the wing and brake bias all the way through the race, trying to find the balance. And I never had I locked up my brakes so many times today. Monaco is, I'm not trying to sound like over ego or anything like that, but that's my track. In the history of sim racing, I've beaten all the best there. I've beaten Bono Huis, I've beaten, I don't know, Roy Colby there back in the day. I've won in FSR there. It's my track, so if I don't do well there, I'll be 1, gutted, and 2, puzzled as to what we have to do to find more pace.
Okay, that's fair enough. It's a reasonable position to be in. Josh, anything to say to Lee?
Yeah, of course. Let's talk about Monaco, actually. Obviously, you're saying it's your track, really, and it's one of the jewels on the calendar. It's the one everyone wants to win. You know, everyone's going to be gunning for you if you think you're going to be the favourite there in Monaco. So, you know, how's it going to be, you know, back in GPVWC, racing at Monaco? Do you think it can, obviously, it's your track, so surely you think you'll be gunning for the win?
Well, I think the last time I raced in GPVWC at Monaco, I think I won. I can't remember.
So you've got history then?
Yeah, well, I should have won another race one year as well, but I got wiped out by Kieran Ryan at the swimming pool chicane, and I think Dave Castmith went on to win that race. But before he went out, I was a lap in front. So it was like, before I went out, I was a lap in front. So I've always gone well here. Even back in the Drake days, I think I beat the 2 Midnights, even though their car was like a second and a half a lap faster or something. So the only thing I'm worried about is on this version of R Factor 2, obviously, I don't know, I've never driven the Monaco track on R Factor 2. So I don't even know what it looks like compared to the R Factor 1 one, which I was always fairly competitive at. So if the R Factor 2 one's any good and I get a feel for it, then we'll see. But I don't know. I always have a good feel for Monaco and Valencia. Obviously, I was really quick, and that's a street circuit, close to walls, and we were a lot more competitive there than we were at Austria. So fingers crossed for Monaco. We can hopefully at least get a podium.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to. Thank you very much for joining us, Lee. Pleasure to have you, as always, with us.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot. Take care.
And, right, Jake, I did promise 2 guys I'd bring them up next, and, well, do you think it's time maybe to interview the Norwegian duo of David Feiding and Florian Geyer?
I think it certainly is, especially after the best race of the season so far, David Feiding. David, second position. It was looking like at one stage in the race, you might have had a crack at the victory, but fastest lap, that's got to be some recompense. Second in the race, that's your best race of the year so far. Are we all smiles this time?
I'm always smiling, Jake. I always try and look at the positives, but the last 2 races have been very difficult to do that. But you know, we've put a lot of work into this one, and yeah, in quali sector 1, I was 0.2 up on the pole lap on my final lap, and I lost 7 tenths behind 2 cars who were cruising through the mid sector, and I finished 0.5 off pole. So, you know, I'm not saying I would have beat Rudy, but we would have been front row. But yeah, that put me back in P6, I think it was. Had a decent start. Got past Flo after we had an incident with Lee. I'm not that good at remote. I hope my move on Baldy's on the stream, by the way, because there was no gap and I went for it. And it's like, wow, that was a great fight between me and Gogo.
I'm not sure if it was, but I tell you what, we can testify that that was one of the best moves I think I've ever seen in GPVWC. That was absolutely no holds barred. I mean, did you even know that move was coming, or did it just kind of happen?
Well, this is weird because obviously for the last 4 years I've been having this run of no DNFs. And so when it came to battles, I always thought, no, I'm not going for that because then I'll get the DNF and we could crash, blah, blah, blah. And it was always in the back of my mind that it could end. But now it's over. In Valencia, obviously, I DNF'd. Every move I went for was just pure aggression, back to my old self and really pushing every lap. And yeah, I got a great exit out of turn 1. I think Gogo went a bit wide as well. And I saw him slightly moving to the right, and I was like, no, I really, really need the inside Gogo. So I went to the right, and there was like an inch of the track left, and I just hung it out. And yeah, to be fair, he left just enough room, great battle, and then outbroke into turn 2 and slowly pulled away. But yeah, it's amazing battle.
Well, I want to turn to you now, Florian, because of course that was a tough race from your point of view. Good to see you, a whisker away from the top 6. That could have been a race where you could almost have been up there with David at times. I mean, in terms of pace in the early stages, you weren't far away from each other, but that must have been quite a frustrating run in the end.
Yeah, hello, first of all. As Dave said, quali went quite okay for us. I matched my PB from testing, so pretty happy with that. P4 was, I think, the max anyway. The guys in front in the 07s was a bit too fast for me today. But race pace, the opening laps were quite okay. I lost the position to Leo at the start, but I was faster than him, so I caught back up to him, and yeah, he just basically drives me off the track. I'm lucky to avoid the spin because in this gravel trap it's very easy to spin. I think I only lost 2 positions. And then on the first pit stop, I braked a little bit too late and got a stop and go penalty, which roundabout, if you account the time I lost in battles afterwards, because I had to go through the pack again, I think I lost up to 30 seconds or even more. So if you take that off my finish time, you know where I finish. It's pretty frustrating. Only Russia so far has gone we started at back then, finished P2, and all the other races went pretty bad for me. I'm glad we got at least one good result in for the team, and I finished somewhat decently. But if I see how many points I already lost this year, I could hide myself in a hole for all the year and not come back anymore. It's pretty frustrating.
I understand the frustrations. I mean, from your point of view, I mean, I'm trying to read between the lines here from what you were saying. With that incident with Lee Morris right at the start, do you genuinely feel then that basically you were run out of road, not necessarily that the two of you were, running for position and having a good battle? Do you feel that he was actually forcing you wide there? Do you feel that he could have been a little bit more kind to you, or do you feel that it was just the way that little battle played itself out?
I was a bit ahead turning into the corner, but maybe he went off the brake. Just a little bit that gets him side by side with me, and then he's on the throttle and he leaves me no space. So it's what happens sometimes in close racing, but I don't know. It's up to the stewards maybe to decide.
Okay, no, fair enough on that one. Josh, anything to say to the Norwegian boys?
Well, apart from great racing from both of you today, obviously, David, you had a 3rd place at the first round of the season, then went into a bit of a 6th and a 7th, but to be back in 2nd place must be a feel-good moment. It's set you up great for the races ahead.
Yeah, it does definitely feel good. Like I said a minute ago, a lot of hard work these last 2 weeks for this race because, qualifying has been really bad. The race, we were always there with the top guys, but qualifying let us down, which left us in just stupid battles and losing a lot of time to the leaders. We got the pace back. Monaco next. It's all about the driver, not the car. So we'll be pushing for that. The win today. I suppose with these tires, I guess you guys know, once you get a 2 or 3 second lead to the guy behind you, that position is pretty secure because once they pit, they haven't got enough of the undercut, and you can just look after your tires then throughout that stint. So once I had the gap to Gergo, it was just reacting to him because Rudy was doing the same to me ahead. So yeah, the win wasn't on, but if we got up if we got up the pack quicker and was closer to Rudy, maybe we could have put up a fight, but I think he was still a bit too quick. So yeah, it's all coming back slowly. And extra work, big updates for the next race.
Yeah, and of course, Florian as well. You got that 2nd place at Russia, but then a 6th and 15th following it up. But still, you've shown us that you have the pace to be at the front. So really, it's about keeping positive going forward, and thinking that you will surely be up there again.
Yeah, it's of course gonna hurt today or tomorrow, maybe the weekend, and then Monday it's back on track and do what we do. And I think last year didn't really go to plan as well, and we still got it done. So who knows? It's still a long season.
It is a long season. We've only had 5 races out of the 18 that we have so far. Thank you, David and Florian, for joining us in the booth. Pleasure to have you both as always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, boys. I think there is time for one more, and it's going to be a real feel-good interview, I think, Josh, this one, because there were times when the man rose as high as second through the pit stop rotations with one of the best drives we've seen all season, and it's a great thing to be able to say in the top 6, and rightfully so. The Australian Thomas Hinz has joined us for the last interview of the show. Tom, what an amazing result for you and the team, with 5th and 6th very much on the cards for you guys at one point, but 6th position, given the circumstances, you must be over the moon with that.
Yeah, well, yeah. Thanks for the wrap there. As always, again, just came together. It came together really good. Jeffrey, against first off the bat, just the whole team. Everyone's been amazing. They're all there. We pretty much had we had 3 race engineers in Jason, Rout, and Nikos throughout that race. It was just so helpful having those guys, telling us what was going on and all this kind of thing. It was really good, really fantastic, and that's such a huge help. I find really helps because, as I've said before, you can just focus on racing. You don't have to worry about what strategy am I doing. Where's this person? Where's that person? You can just race and focus on that. But yeah, quali. I think 13th, which for me is actually not too bad because usually quali is not my strength at all. So yeah, to be around where Jeffrey was, I was pretty happy because Jeffrey's pretty speedy, that's for sure. Got a clean start, managed to avoid incidents, and managed to get clear of the sort of, I think it was Horrell who was sort of bowling everyone up a little bit, so I managed to get clear of Horrell and then just kind of dig away at DeVos, I think it was early on. We just kept going along and managed to, I think I did 10 or 11 laps on the first stint in the Ultras, just kept on them. Again, same as Valencia, and I've said to others already in the waiting for interviews and that, I'm not really sure why the Ultras work as well for me as they do. I don't know, but they do. They're at my bay apparently, so don't change, please. Yeah, just stuck on them again, just like with Valencia. Did the supers, gave them a go, and again, just like Valencia, I just couldn't really get them to work, so we just went, back to Ultras, and they worked fantastically. Got me back in the game a little bit, and the last half was good fun. Had a little bit of an interesting moment after, I think it was the first stint, with Francic and Menno and Horrell. Had a close moment there. That was a bit of a heart stop moment with those 3 guys. And got help a little bit there, but all kind of worked out in the end, thank goodness. So that was good. Then just kept plugging away as always. As always, I just kept plugging away, just nursed the tyres, but kept the pace up. I just kept consistent as always tend to try and do. And in the end, last stint was nice and easy because a nice gap to flow. I was just sort of managing the gap, keep the tyres alive, and just brought it home. So I'm over the moon because that's a new best result for me in Super League, and it's good to be up there. Actually legitimately fighting amongst the top 5. That's probably not going to sink in for me for a while, but it's good to have it there in writing, so to speak.
Well, the signs are good for the future, and obviously heading to Monaco as well. I'm guessing from the outset that a lot of the way that the setup worked out for the Red Archer team today was based on the back of Jeffrey last night in Super Cup, having had that experience to come into this. Do you think that the way that you were able to build the setup for this race was aided by that? Do you think that was an interesting part of the strategy?
Yeah, I think it may have helped. Certainly may have been a bit of a helpful factor. Obviously, Jeffrey, and I think Rout as well. He's done some Super Cup stuff, and he was helping with the setup as well. That certainly helped. But I think a lot of it was just we just meshed well, and we just did some really good setup work earlier in the week. We did some good sessions with multiple of us just pumping out laps, figuring out tweaks to the setup. And I think that was super helpful. I think for me, I think the key thing that helps me anyway is that, you know, and again, I think in the qualifying, if we look at qualifying results, I think that sort of shows that we don't make maybe the best qualifying car, but we make a good race car. And I think that's what is key for us, is that we may not be as good in quali, but we make a car that's really consistent in a race scenario. And that's just, it's perfect for me because, again, as I said, that's my style. You know, I know I'm not a good qualifier, so when I've got a race car that fits me as well as the Red Archer does, it just makes it so much easier, because I could just, like that whole race, I felt pretty comfortable the whole time. I just in a nice groove. You know, obviously pushing, but not pushing crazy hard like I was on the edge of a mistake. You know, I was just in a nice, comfortable zone, pumping in good laps. And yeah, it's just such a great feeling having that. You know, being able to drive a car that feels so good and just fits me so well with the setup. And as I said, it's huge kudos to the team. You know, they're all, every one of them, amazing. You know, it's an amazing team, and the vibe in it is just fantastic. As I said, I really can't give enough kudos to Red Archer. Again, for giving me the chance, you know, because it's been a hell of a lot of fun so far.
And very well deserved to see you in the top 6. Josh, final words from you with Tom Hinds.
Yeah, not so much of a question really for me. It's just further praise to give to Thomas just for his fantastic result in these 6 player 3. You know, I've been saying for so long, Jake, I've been saying so long about Thomas, when things go his way, he is one of the best drivers on the grid in any series he participates in. And yeah, sometimes luck isn't on his side really, but just Thomas Hinds is one of those drivers who just, when things go his way, when he's up there, he can stick it just as well to the top guys as anybody else. And well, Tom, going forwards, I think you've really proven now that what I exactly have just said.
Podium at Monaco, maybe? Come on.
Oh, I tell you what, if I can get a podium there, I'll be pretty chuffed, because I'll be honest, not a fan of Monaco. I'll be honest. So, yeah, it's not my favorite track, but yeah, if I can get a good result there, I'll be chuffed. But I mean, I'm sure, again, Super League show coming up, of course. Watch that. Nice little plug there. Yeah, I'm sure that, as you guys have probably discussed there, you know, it's Monaco. It's a very tough track. These cars are certainly not small, and they're a handful at the best of times for a lot of guys. So, yeah, I think if you can finish that race, I'm guessing if it goes how I think it will, especially if weather comes into it, I don't want to think about that, but heaven forbid if it does, then I think if you can finish it, you're in for a good result, is what I suspect. So, yeah, I'll just be aiming to finish. But yeah, if I can get a good result again at Monaco, I'll be extremely over the moon, I think, so, if that's possible.
Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant result, Tom. Congratulations, and well done to the whole team.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks again, guys, for broadcast. Amazing as always.
No worries. Well, we're just happy to do it when you consider the racing that we've got in front of us. 5 races down, 13 to go, Josh, and the next one, it's one of the big ones. It's Monaco. We've already had 5 incredible races at Monaco. We could have the Rudy Van Buren show all over again, or we could have a real lottery.
It could be. Everything could hinge on the conditions for this. I mean, Monaco, notoriously hard to overtake, so drivers are going to be needing to use the opportunities that they get. And, well, hopefully it won't be a procession like modern Formula 1 races, because we've proven that Super League is pretty much better than modern Formula 1.
And if anybody can overtake at Monaco, it's a GPVWC Super League driver. We know this for a fact.
Yeah, if there's going to be overtaken, it's going to be done by drivers of this quality, in this field, in this series, in this year. All I'll say is, you'd be mad to miss Monaco in 2 weeks' time.
Absolutely. No fear, no holds barred. There's going to be 3 fantastic days of GPVWC racing to tune into. I am going to be desperately rearranging my schedule that week so that I can be on comms for all 3 days. If there's any week in GPVWC I don't want to miss, it's the Monaco week. So don't forget, Tuesday night, the Formula Challenge, Wednesday night, the Super Cup, and Thursday night, as always, at 7:30 p.m. Sorry, the stream goes live for the GPVWC Super League, and it is going to be 3 days of back-to-back non-stop action with 5 fantastic races to go through. Josh Anderson, it's been a fantastic pleasure having your company as always.
And a pleasure to be beside you once again, Jake, for, well, another great race in Super League.
So 3 wins out of 5, a 60% win ratio now for Rudy Van Buren and the Vodbull Racing team. But next we go to Monaco. His championship lead is safe for the moment, but will it be hashed into on the streets of Monaco? And is there going to be a bit of a strange turn up for the books? Usually is at Monaco, and in GPVWC, you're going to get a much better show than what Formula One can give you on the streets of Monte Carlo. We'll see you in 2 weeks. From Jake Sanson, Josh Anderson, Argo Teder, and the whole team at GPVWC behind the broadcast. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to tune in for the Super League show next week. It's going to be a good one as we get ourselves ready for Monaco racing on the streets. See you soon.